Howdy, 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 everybody. Hope everyone is having a wonderful evening. Welcome back to another one of our DC TV show after shows. Today I'm joined by the wonderful, the amazing, the fantastic, all the amazing words we can come up with, Toxic Taz. How's it going, buddy?
What is going on, guys? It's Taz here. I just had to throw one of those in there. I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
I've loved that intro. I'm not even kidding. Me and my friends have talked about how much we love your little intro slogan thing. It's very, very cool. But
thank you.
It's amazing to have you on. We were talking about it beforehand. You're one of the content creators I've been wanting to get together with for many years. You're one of the cornerstones of this DC TV YouTuber community. So it's great to finally have you on here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for, reaching out to me and everything like that. I'm just happy to be here. Love, watching everybody do all their streams all the time. I've been, a fan of your stuff for a while here, and I'm just glad that we get to sit down and talk some DC TV tonight.
Absolutely. We got a whole fest of some cool DC content. It's been a great couple of weeks as far as honestly, it's been an insane several months for DC. This might be the biggest several months of DC ever. It's kind of insane. But of course we're go ahead.
No, there's a lot going on right now, and it's almost kind of overwhelming coming from not having a lot going on for the past couple of years.
Sure. And it's so crazy because now we're at, I could get so sidetracked here, but we're at a point where Marvel kind of doesn't got a lot going on. They're doing the opposite, where they're retracting. Well, DC is let's announce 12 projects and cancel 50 other projects. It's an insane kind of boatload of stuff. But today we are going to be talking of course, Superman and Lois season 3. I can't believe we're on season 3 already. Episode 2. Along with the Gotham Knights. We had our second episodes of Gotham Knights along with Shazam, Fury of the Gods, and these past couple weeks of the Flash final season. So let's kind of just dive into our first topic of the night. But if you guys have not seen the latest episode of Superman and Lois, get out of here. Go. We're talking spoilers. We're talking all the big stuff here. And I don't want you to have to be spoiled for what's coming up next. So Taz, what did you think? Just kind of your straight off reactions, opinions on the latest episode of Superman and Lois.
I mean, first impressions, once again, Superman and Lois is one of the highest quality DC TV shows that's airing right now. It's just so much further above, I think, everything else as far as the way it's shot, the storylines that it tackles and everything like that. We had a pretty, intense one this week, I guess, is really the best way to describe it. It got very real. And it was definitely kind of a downer episode, but also had a lot of, really good elements to it and kind of makes you, I guess, in Superman terms, hopeful for the future.
Yeah, I love these Superman and Lois ones where they're very, the hopeful stuff, and that balance between the two is always amazing. But I love when Betsy really gets to kind of show her emotional acting abilities. They get me every time. They absolutely get me. My favorite episode from the show, period, was the episode where she's in therapy and she's grieving the loss of her past daughter, or the daughter she never had. And I got very similar vibes to that this episode, and such a great way. And I kind of ended the episode just being this is top tier television for me. This episode, I think, kind of puts it back on top for me, because I kind of lost it a little bit in season 2. I still thought it was really good, but I ended season 1 being this is one of the best things on television, and I'm feeling that again this week.
Yeah. Same here. I feel like with last season, they definitely went a lot further with kind of the world-ending events, the very super. There was a lot more focus on Superman last season, I feel than there was on Lois. She didn't have quite as much going on. But this season, obviously, especially this episode, it feels like they gave her, she gave it her all. And, we got to see, just Lois at her strongest point, I feel in this episode.
Absolutely. There's that one scene, and I guess we can just talk spoilers, where she stops a woman from, stepping off the bridge. I'm this might be one of Lois Lane's best moments ever, across mediums.
Yeah, it was super, super powerful,
Yeah, this was one of those moments, and I see this, like, I'm on Twitter so much, it's ridiculous, but it's one of those moments where I'm like, oh, people are going to start putting this on Twitter everywhere. Like, it's going to, like, go viral on, like, Twitter, because it's so good.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be on, like, people's lists of, like, top 10 Lois Lane moments. I mean, it's,
sure.
It really, again, like, I saw you talking about on Twitter, too, while the episode was going on, is it was, like, very much so, like, we got a Lois and Clark investigation episode as well, and I loved that aspect of it. But it just obviously gave Lois that chance to shine. She had the big scene of the episode. While last week's big scene might have been the Superman fight, this one was a big Lois Lane moment.
Sure. And I know, like, a big complaint for people last season was that it was more so Superman, not so much Lois. This episode was Superman and Lois. It wasn't one or the other, split down the middle. Clark was doing his thing, Lois doing her thing. I will say, I think this episode might be one of the best, like, examples of everyone kind of having something to do. Like, each character was equally doing something the entire time. And they like did tease, I think it was last week, where like they have said like each character is going to have an arc this season, each character is going to have something to do. I'm curious to kind of see where that all actually goes.
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely saw like the seeds being planted this week of just everybody kind of like, certain characters are off in their own little segments,
Yes.
But I feel like everything is going to meet in the middle. At some point, because we have Lois who wants to, obviously investigate Bruno Mannheim with all of the intergang stuff. We have Superman had his big, confrontation with Bruno Mannheim, just like that back and forth scene there. We had John Henry Irons and Lana Lang kind of, doing some more investigation in Smallville. Smallville is somehow tied into all of this as well. Yeah. I mean, the kids were a little bit more separate, but I feel like they're going to kind of, eventually come in and be like, B-Squad or something.
Sure. And I honestly, one of the highlights for me this episode was Bruno Mannheim. This man honestly might be one of the most just like on-screen presence that we've had on like one of these shows in a while. At least I can like remember at the top of my head. He gave me very like Prometheus type vibes in a way.
Yeah, no, he's very menacing.
Yeah.
And he's kind of sitting there like, I know you can't do anything about, you know what I'm doing and I know what I'm doing, but the rest of the world doesn't know that, so you can't touch me, Superman. Like that's kind of how he is.
Sure.
But it was, just very, very menacing. I'm very excited to see kind of where that dynamic plays out for the rest of the season.
Yeah. It honestly, this episode kind of made me wish that like Tobias Church from Arrow would have given like he could have done a whole arc just of him almost. Yeah, but no, I'm very curious. And do you think he's going to be like the main villain of the season, or do you think?
So from what they've said, I feel like he is. I feel like Onomatopoeia, we definitely got to talk about that character, but that's going to be kind of like our our mid-boss, and then Bruno Mannheim is, I think, our big bad of the season, but then we also have the other layer, peeling back the layers here. Lex Luthor's somehow involved in all this. We know he's coming later this season. We got that promo image like a week or so ago. It looks like he's in prison currently, but that doesn't mean he can't be, pulling strings from behind the scenes.
Sure, we've seen Lex Luthor in prison on these shows before, and they went a certain way. I'll be curious because like they've outright said that he is the villain of the season, but they've also said that twice now. They've said Captain Luthor was our villain, and then they said Doomsday was our villain. So I'd be curious. I can't imagine they do it 3 times. Like that would be a bit much for me.
Yeah. Oh,
but maybe.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna go into like spoilers from things that we haven't seen yet, but I saw something that there might be another villain that was possibly teased at one point that might be coming later in the season. That's really all I'm gonna say.
Yes, I've seen that too. And I don't know, and again, we're not going to dive into that too much, but like, I don't know how they would go about that and how everything kind of like would tie together if that was the thing to happen.
Yeah, but gonna leave it there. Just don't want to go too deep into that. Maybe once we get a little bit closer.
Sure. So let's kind of talk about the kids stuff this week, and I saw a couple people complaining about that this week. So both our set of kids, John, Jordan, and Natalie and Sarah, they both go to a party to kind of just like distract themselves from life in Metropolis. Now, I do want to say, just between these first two episodes, there have been a lot set in that world, in that city. Do you think we're maybe setting up there? You know, there's been a lot of rumors. I know Paige has talked about this a lot, where like maybe if there's a season 4, maybe we switch over to that location.
Yeah, I definitely buy into that. Again, like you said, Paige was talking about it. I think he said he got it from a source that's been correct in the past with certain things and everything like that. And you know, if people haven't heard about it, you know, basically the rumor goes, if we get another season of Superman and Lois, it's not going to be set in Smallville anymore. We're going to be going full-time Metropolis, it seems like, and I feel like they're kind of teasing that out here. They definitely put a lot of work into, you know, creating Metropolis. There's obviously been a lot of, you know, Metropolis shoots and everything for this season, and it looks like, you know, we're just going to continue to go there, especially with Bruno Mannheim being so, you know, very, very, very much so connected to the city.
Sure. There is even a thing with like Bruno Mannheim where he feels like Clark or Superman has like abandoned this city. So I wonder if we end the season where like, oh, I need to go back to my roots. I need to go back to the city that I cared for so much before. Look what happened once I left. Because it is kind of just like inevitable. Idea. Like whatever city he lives in is going to be the one that gets the most attention.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting. King Vitter kind of just talked about like what we were asking. Do you think there will be a season 4, or will they cancel season 4 during the season? Do you imagine the CW getting a season 4 for the show? Or
I wanna hope that it continues on the CW. Sure. I mean, we've saw that quote from James Gunn saying that the show has at least maybe a season or 2 left in it.
Sure.
There have been rumors that if it doesn't get picked up on the CW, that it could potentially go elsewhere. Could it, you know, air directly on HBO Max where it's very popular? Could it, you know, go air somewhere else like, you know, Netflix, Amazon Prime? I feel like in some way we're going to get a continuation. I don't feel like this is going to be the last season.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like they're setting it up that way. But again, obviously shows can just get the rug can kind of get pulled out from under you, and they could just cancel these shows without any warning, kind of like they did with Legends and Batwoman.
Yeah, there's a part of me, I think the ideal is like it goes to HBO or whatever. Like that's the ideal situation, especially when they said they want to spend like what, like $2 million an episode, or like $1 million or something.
I heard somewhere in the range of and I think it costs like $5 million per episode right now. Yeah.
I'll say this for everyone. I think we don't want a Superman Lois show with like $1 million per episode. We just don't. That's worse than Smallville, I think. Right? Like you know,
they need to give this show the quality that it deserves.
Sure.
You know.
Sure.
Like what people come to expect from it, I guess.
I also think that I love this network. I love these shows, but like, I almost wish it was on a network that would promote the show better, because if it got the promotion and love that it deserved, it would be top of the charts, I think. It'd be up there with like Game of Thrones and stuff like that, I think.
No, I mean, I think I think Superman and Lois is really the best adaptation of the Superman character, of the Superman family that we've seen on screen, like probably ever. You know, going back to all these past incarnations, I think they all have their positive qualities, but if you're looking specifically at, translating comic to screen, I feel like Superman and Lois really does the best job in that.
I agree. He's been my favorite balance of those two characters, the Clark Kent and the Superman side of it, and just like you said, balancing that hope for this humanity. And I really hope for the Superman legacy. It seems like we're heading more into a direction like this. No shade on any of the movies or anything like that, but I haven't seen a Superman that I've loved in a while, since your like Brandon Routh kind of era of Superman. So like it brings me so much hope, like joy, that we can have a Superman Lois, and we can have hopefully a Superman legacy that brings, and again, no shade, because I know I got a lot of people here who love those movies, There's not for me personally, but yeah, no, and it brings me joy because I've been seeing a lot more people like jump on the show this year. Like I think it is doing. Yeah. I think it's being out shows like Walker, I think, which like was their #1 show last year. So more people are noticing it. Maybe it's just because we got a lot less shows now than we did like last year.
And I feel like also the gap in between seasons allowed people to maybe catch up if they hadn't seen it. A lot of clips have been going around the internet, kind of like making their rounds. I see people talking all the time. It's like, oh, what's this from? Superman and Lois? What's that?
Yeah.
But...
Sure. Justin said, I love they keep referencing Lex before he appears. Yeah, I'm very curious how they're going to do Lex and what form he's going to play, because that's 2 episodes in a row they have mentioned him. Are you excited to see this new version of Lex Luthor?
I am, especially after we saw that picture. It seems like the more they bring Lex in, they're just gonna like let his beard grow. Like he's just gonna like have like a big old like Santa Claus beard at some point, maybe. Just like each version of Lex progressively just has a longer beard, I think, which is kind of funny. But I did also see like in one of those like city overhead shots, you can see Lex's tower or his building or something. I don't know if it was from one of the trailers, if it was from, I don't know if it was from the trailer for this episode that people pointed it out, but it's somewhere in there in the kind of like cityscape of Metropolis. So they're obviously planting seeds for him, but it almost kind of like makes me wonder what the speculation would be like if we didn't know about him coming in. If they hadn't announced it, like, I'm glad that we know, but it would be quite the shock to kind of like see him pop up in here.
Sure. I do wonder why they announced it, because there hasn't been any set photos of him, right? And they're done shooting.
There were no set photos, and they're done. I don't think I ever saw like a public shoot with him in it. So that's
I wonder why they revealed it then. Hello, Miata. How's it going? So speaking of villains, we have Onomatopoeia, which I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about that character. I'm not very fluent. Are you a big fan of that character?
The only thing I do know about the character is that they are a Green Arrow villain. I believe Kevin Smith created the character.
Yes.
And it was kind of a character that was on my list of villains that I wanted to see pop up in Arrow that never happened.
Sure.
So I'm excited to see this take on that character in Superman and Lois. They have a very interesting power set. It works very well in the comics because, how they're all laid out. They can use like action words as their power, so like they say pow and something pows, or crack-a-coom and something crack-a-cooms, so it's a very interesting translation to see what they're doing with the show. So it seems like they just have like sound-based abilities, so they can use the sound of something, and like say they use the sound of a bullet, and a bullet shoots like what we saw in this episode, or they so it seems like that's the direction that they're taking it, and I feel like that's kind of like the only way that power can really translate well to screen.
Sure. It definitely feels like, I wonder if a character like that would have worked in a show like Doom Patrol, or like maybe not Legends, but like something very or like Harley Quinn, something more on the goofier side.
I feel like they would work very well on animation.
Sure. Yeah.
If they maybe did like that would be cool. If they did like do a Green Arrow movie with the same animation style as Spider-Verse.
Ooh, that'd be sick.
James Gunn, hire me.
I love, like, we're at a point now in like animation where we just want every movie to have that same art style and feel, and I'm here for it. I'm totally here for this change in like animation. But one of the biggest moments in this episode for me was Onomatopoeia kills, again, spoilers if you have not seen the episode, George, our old mayor of the city. Right. I did not expect a scene. Did you expect a death in this episode?
No. Well, I mean, the trailer kind of said, there was a murder in Smallville, but we didn't know who it was. So I was actually quite shocked. I was like, oh, so it's already starting. So there's like some sort of mystery cover up here. That obviously the old mayor was tied to. He was trying to warn Lana last week. He's warning her this week, and Onomatopoeia is gonna come for you, I guess.
Yeah, no, I love that, how we can just have a pretty brutal death too. Like, it wasn't like an off-screen type thing.
Yeah,
it was
no,
a pretty brutal death.
Yeah,
and it was really kind of cool to see. Despite this mayor not being everyone's favorite in the city, it definitely rocked the entire city. This was a big thing within the city, and kind of seeing Lana like freak out. Sarah's not around. She needs to get all her stuff together. I don't know. I was just kind of very taken back by the entire thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's Smallville, not Gotham City, so you don't see a murder every day.
King Vader said, "Imagine Onomatopoeia kills more people than Red Death."
I think Onomatopoeia already did.
Has he? Yeah, probably.
I mean, Red Death killed alternate Earth Iris, so one.
That's true. And then the one person in Central City. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, that wasn't really even her, so I almost don't even count that, because that was what do you call it, like a sentinel or whatever. She didn't physically do it, so
sure.
So I don't know. Onomatopoeia greater than Red Death, confirmed.
Oh yeah, I think we'd all pretty much agree with that. I completely got sidetracked earlier, though. We did see our kids go to this kind of party.
Yeah.
Were you a fan of the storyline? Because I saw a lot of people online just not really liking this at all.
I mean, I thought it was actually kind of funny. I thought it was kind of interesting. It was just like, it was a break from all of the, actual like high intensity stuff of the rest of the episode. The rest of the episode was very serious. This was just kind of like a fun little side story just to involve our side characters. But I feel like the only point really of this is to show they're all going to be hanging out, and they all might be, fighting crime together, possibly.
Sure, and we did introduce a new character, or technically kind of two. Did you hear who that certain character was? I don't want to say it yet.
Yeah, I did. I won't say it if you don't want to. But
yeah, honestly,
I'm pretty sure I know who that character's supposed to be.
I've talked about it on stream before, but I think I'll just wait, because they haven't revealed it. I don't think in like press or anything like that. So...
Yeah, no. In the promo images for this episode, where they kind of say the actor and the character name, they just said the actor's name and not the character that they're playing. So yeah, we'll leave that for now until they reveal it.
Yeah, I will be very curious, because Natalie has a crush on this boy. She met him from the other Earth, which I thought was honestly like a really fun concept. Like, she had a crush on a boy on another Earth. Now she's on this new Earth, and she has a whole new like opportunity with this guy. That's a fun concept. I really like that. It also made me think, and I'm not trying to bash on the Flash. It's one of my favorite shows. I'm not doing that, but like, Superman and Lois is doing more with the multiverse than the Flash is currently, and I wonder why.
Yeah,
is it because
like
they already like they reintroduced
the Flash is afraid of saying the word multiverse, I think.
It is. I've talked about this with some people like before. It seems like maybe they're not allowed because of the Flash movie, but why can maybe because Superman and Lois already did in season 1 that they can just like they're like whatever.
Well, it's weird though, because Crisis made it very apparent that Oliver recreated the multiverse. It showed all of the different shows and all the different Earths and everything like that. But the Flash is still living under the assumption that there is no multiverse, which is a little odd. But maybe they're saving it for something later in the season. We can only hope.
Sure.
But...
I was always the impression that was just going to be a storyline. Like, there would be a big crossover, and that's like they get it. Like, honestly, and I think if you keep doing these shows, you could do something really cool with that, because now you have more shows in the multiverse than there are. Like on Earth Prime, like we had the Naomi, we had the Stargirl, we have Gotham Knight to Superman Lois. So like you could have done like a full-fledged like getting back the multiverse crossover if you wanted to. Oops. But
we're bringing the multiverse back together.
Sure. I don't know, and maybe that was the plan. Like maybe with the whole ending with like Stargirl, maybe that's what they were doing. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Man, now you're bringing that up, and I'm like, I hope they touch on that at least slightly.
Sure. There's also something to be said though about like we do have an Oliver Queen Spectre episode coming up, so if there was an episode this season to do it, it would be that one.
That's the one I'm excited for. That's the one I'm really looking forward to, and it sounds like that's gonna kind of be our Arrowverse wrap up before we fully wrap up the Flash after it, so. I'm excited. But I just, hopefully the beginning of this season of The Flash isn't any indication of where we're going.
Sure. So on the more drama side of things, we did meet Eliza, which, correct me if I'm wrong, we never actually saw her before, right? It was all just like
I feel like it was
stuff?
it was like text. Maybe like video calls or something, but I don't think we ever like physically saw the character. No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked to see her. And she wants to get back with Jonathan, which and there's a scene where like she even wants him to cheat on his like girlfriend. I was wondering like where are we going with this story?
Yeah,
was
it was a little weird. Yeah, no, it was a little weird. It was like a little weird side plot. I'm like, okay, I don't know where you're going with this. It seemed like, you know, Jonathan's trying to he's trying to be good from last
Sure.
season. You know, he got into a lot of trouble. He's just trying to stay on the right path.
Yeah. See you, Kane Vader. Thanks for stopping in.
So, yeah.
I was even wondering, like, was it supposed to parallel last season with like Sarah and Kyle? I don't know where we're going. Is it the maybe show how good of a guy like Clark Kent's son is? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, I got like weird vibes from that character though. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought like she was like gonna be like connected to something, and it was gonna be some like, you know, weird reveal or something that I don't know. Like, it just seemed like it just seemed suspicious. But I feel like that was really the only place that it was going. Just kind of like to give Jonathan a side story, but
I mean, maybe it still is. Maybe she's working with like Bruno or something, and she's trying to get like undercover or something. I don't know.
Wasn't that a weird theory that like somebody was connected to like one of Jonathan's random girlfriends was connected to like some villain?
Yeah, season 1. I actually really liked that girl. She had a father that was in prison in like Central City.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
which could have made for a cool start for like a crossover type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like her girlfriend's father broke out of prison and she's coming after him or something. I don't know, something cool like that. That's all out the window now though. But
right.
Yeah, I'll be curious kind of as we're watching this story. But kind of getting into the final like big reveal of this episode. Lois is kind of off the entire time. She's not. Something's up with her. She's having these health issues. We don't know exactly what's up, and it is revealed that Lois has breast cancer. And just that, like that, we talked about a little bit at the beginning. That entire speech, her scene with Clark, the scene with the boys. I mean, what was your thoughts on this entire thing?
My thoughts were I was sitting here tearing up. I mean, like it was really sad, and I mean, I know it's going to, you know, hit close to home, I'm sure, for people that have gone through you know, similar things, and it seems like Superman and Lois is tackling it in a really really good way. It's a very tough subject matter to
Sure.
you know, obviously have to address in a family superhero show like this is, but given the fact that Lois, of course, is the second title character, I think we can probably safely assume that she will come out of this
Sure.
fine on the other end of it. But you know, what were you thinking about this?
Yeah, no, I mean, I was absolutely heartbroken. I mean, you know, Lois, like, this has been a character that I fell in love with her from day one. Like, this, like, version of the character ever since Elseworld. Now, this is a different version, obviously, but, like, I think Lois Lane is just one of the best written characters among all of these shows. I think she's amazing. She's been through so much, and again, I talked about earlier, I love her, like, emotionally driven episodes having to deal with everything that she's gone through. And I really like the theme of this episode with Clark and these characters. Like, these are characters that can do anything. But when he's going against Bruno Mannheim and the effects of the city, and now his wife having breast cancer, this is something that Superman can't fix. He can't just save the day. This is something that he has to stand by and watch and support in his own way. Honestly, kind of contrasting last season, where last season he, like, it was very world-ending storyline, and now it's very much, I don't know what to do here. I have to step back. I have to visit this another day, and now take care of my family. And again, I think Superman Lois is one of the best shows on television. I think the way they've been writing these stories have been just so good.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree with that. I mean, it just, you know, once again proves why it's one of the best at what it does. You know,
Sure.
So I feel like also with this are going to come a lot of theories too on what they're doing, why they would go down this route
Sure.
with Lois. I mean, the mind kind of instantly goes to what's going on with Bruno, with Intergang, with them trying to like revive the Atom Man, I believe was the villain's name. So I feel like possibly that's going to tie into things here. It seems like based off of trailers and stuff, they're almost giving her a very similar story to what Iris had in season 3 of The Flash when she knew she was going to get killed by Savitar. So, Lois seems like she's going to be, taking things a little bit more, not carefree, but, kind of really kind of like putting her life on the line because she knows it already kind of is.
Sure.
So I feel like that's going to lead to some very interesting stuff. Obviously, it seems like Clark is going to probably pick up on that and be like, Lois, stop being careless and going out there and, and trying to take on Intergang by yourself.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I didn't think about that. And, that was the storyline. I really liked that storyline in season 3 of The Flash, but I always wish they took it a step further. Like, I never felt like they really committed to an arc that could have been really, really good for Iris.
Yeah, me too. I agree with that.
It's very funny, because, and again, I love The Flash. I'm not trying to, like, bash The Flash or anything, but, like, Lois Lane was always kind of like, oh, this is what Iris could be. Like, these are the storylines that we've been kind of wanting Iris to do for a couple of years now. So I honestly, like, once you say that, I would love a storyline like that. My brain kind of going into this episode, like, with her sickness, I was kind of wondering if it was going to be some kind of, like, if one of the villains caused the sickness in her or whatever, if it was Lex Luthor or Bruno or whatever. Yeah. Or even, like, she had a sickness, but she needed these weapons to cure it or whatever. But now that we kind of see that it is, like, breast cancer, I kind of don't want it to be. Like, I kind of want it to just be a real story. Like, I don't want a villain just to be able to come in and fix it.
Exactly, and I sadly almost feel like that might be where they're going. I have like full faith in the show that they'll tackle this story in the best way possible, but I feel like it might end up in an area of like, oh, Lois is going to use whatever this technology Intergang is developing to get a cure that possibly Lex is maybe after as well. Who knows, maybe he in prison, maybe they'll go down that, kryptonite poisoning route. And they're both kind of, in that similar position, and maybe they both need whatever Bruno Mannheim is working on to survive, and maybe that's why Lex possibly becomes a, larger player in season 4 if we get there. Hopefully we get there,
Yeah, no, I'll be kind of curious how it's done. And again, I kind of hope they take it more seriously. I just hope Lois has this thing and she has to deal with the thing. And like I said, like before, I don't want just like a quick and easy kind of fix. Like, oh, let's like this is I want it to be a real story that we're kind of dealing with here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the kind of notes I have for Superman and Lois. Do you have any kind of thoughts, questions, kind of things?
I think we kind of went over everything aside from will Lois possibly get powers from all this. I've seen that theory thrown around. What do you think about that?
I hope not. Superman and Lois is one of those shows where they've done really well with their superheroes currently. Like, they've done extremely well, but I feel like one wrong turn and the show could definitely become like 10 superheroes, which is something that like the other shows have kind of struggled with. Like we have Clark, and we have Jordan, and we have potentially Jonathan at some point, and we have John Henry Irons, and we have Natalie. Like, we have all these heroes, and again, I think they've handled it like magically. Like, it feels like Clark is the only superhero in the show thus far. Right.
And just all these other people happen to have powers or super exosuits that look like Master Chief.
Sure. That's kind of been my thing against Jonathan having powers. Is like, how do you handle 3 Kryptonians in one show without it becoming very overpowered?
And I think that it works perfectly to have, Superman, obviously number 1, and then you have Jordan with powers. He's learning how to, live up to his father. You have Lois, who does not have powers, but finds a way to be a hero in her own right. And then obviously we'll have to have, Jonathan kind of take after Lois in that respect. Yeah, and I feel like they did a really good job showing that in last week's episode, and I feel like that might be a story for him going forward in this season as well, as like, how can I be helpful without powers?
Sure. Absolutely. One final thing I did kind of forget to talk about. We had the Lana and John Henry Irons stuff. Kind of getting back to like the CW drama stuff. Do you think we're heading down a line? I mean, Lana is Signal and Kyle is Signal and John is Signal. Like, do you think we're dealing with that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I the shows are very formulaic in that way. I can definitely see where they're heading. I can see the pairings. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's not, taking up too much of the story. As long as it makes sense, I think it's cool. I don't really have a problem with it. I think it's, they're doing their thing.
Sure. There's definitely, like, this isn't a complaint at all, but there's definitely some weird ships happening at the moment. Like, you have the Lana and John maybe, and then Kyle and Chrissy maybe, and then you have Jonathan and a love triangle maybe. You have Jordan and Sarah, which I actually have kind of been enjoying. They're like, I think there's such, I honestly kind of hope they stay apart, just because I think there's such a stigma with like exes, where like you can't be friends with your ex, and it really feels like that's a storyline that they're going down, like, hey, I just want to be friends even though we used to date. And if done right, I think that could be a really great dynamic.
And I thought that the dynamic was really good when they were, at the party. I thought that was kind of like fun. They're just, they're just buddies hanging out now,
Yeah, no, I wonder, and especially with the potential of us moving cities, and I have to wonder what happens to Cushing's, what happens to the Irons. Do they move with them, like, unrealistically, or do they leave these characters behind? And, I think the Irons could maybe move with them, because they were kind of like family by this point, but, like, I would argue the Cushing's would be characters you maybe say goodbye to, and maybe that's their way of doing that.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I from you saying that made me think of something. Very, very, okay, we're gonna go like crazy tinfoil hat theory here. So Justice U, remember?
Yes.
Remember Justice U?
Yes, I do.
And so how it could possibly be set on the Superman and Lois Earth, and how we had last week General Lane trying to recruit Natalie into this like DoD school. What if that school is Justice U, and they're setting off, if Superman and Lois and the Kent family go back to Metropolis, what if they were setting that up as a possible spin-off to have, Diggle, John Henry Irons, Natalie Irons all go to this, superhero school? I just thought
No, that's definitely, I mean, typically I don't think anything's going to end up happening with that show, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel the same
but
way.
I mean, maybe, and I had said after last week's episode, I said instead of Justice U, or instead of even Gotham Knights being like somehow connected, I had said like I would like a Steel show. Like, I think a Steel show would work really well if we have to say goodbye to, like, if these characters are moving and we have to say goodbye, do a spin off of those characters. But that's honestly not a bad idea. Maybe very co-led with Steel, John Henry Irons, and John Diggle. Or just like drop the John Diggle. I'm kind of at a point with John Diggle where I'm like, if it's not Earth Prime, do I really want it?
Yeah, well, and also, what's the status on that? Is he showing up this season? Is he not showing up? I know I saw that interview with Wole Parks that plays John Henry Irons, saying that apparently Diggle's not going to be in the season. He's just going to be directing.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder why. Because at first I thought he was. Like, I thought he was going to be like a recurring character this season. But maybe after all the controversies, he's not. Maybe they knew the show wasn't happening anymore. They're like, okay, let's scrap it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I will say again, it would be quite weird again having him on the Flash and then Super and Lois being separate ones. Which
they did last year, and it was weird. Even though he had
the same week too,
look.
right?
Yeah, it was the same. Yeah, it was like no, I think it was like separated by like 1 week, but he had the exact same look. He had the same, same beard, same hairstyle. It's like he just went off of one set onto the other set, but.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
A whole other can of worms. That's a story for another time.
Absolutely. Toxic Strike. Steel show would be peak. Maybe a
maybe Shaq cameo. The OG Steel. Oh, that would be funny.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I mean, I would be down for something like that for sure.
Steel
Any final thoughts though before we kind of move on to our next show?
final thoughts, Superman and Lois is great. I'm excited to see where this season takes us, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Alrighty, so up next we do have the newest episode, Season 1, Episode 2 of Gotham Knights. What's your kind of thoughts on this newest episode of this brand new show?
Okay, so Gotham Knights. I made a positive review for the pilot episode, contrary to what a lot of people were saying online, of the show's quality and everything like that. I felt like I tweeted this out also, when the episode was airing. I felt like there is a very noticeable jump in quality from the pilot to episode 2. Now, I know obviously there's a lot of time in between a pilot and a second episode. A pilot's more so a proof of concept, not really always reflective of what the actual show is going to be like. But if the show is going to be more like episode 2 and less like the pilot, I'm a fan.
Yeah, no. There's definitely, I think, an increase between episode 1 and episode 2. I still wouldn't say I was I wasn't like a massive fan or anything. I wasn't like jumping up and down. But I do kind of, I said this for episode 1. It feels like this is a really good stepping stone for what the show could be. I think it's a good standing ground. We're like, okay, if season 1's just okay, we can then, over the seasons, or, if we get that far, move into something really cool and really fun. I think they're doing some really kind of interesting things here. And I do think the most interesting thing is just the Court of Owls. And honestly, I think they're doing everything with the Court of Owls, like, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, as somebody who played the Gotham Knights game, I think they're utilizing the Court of Owls better in the show than they did in the game. Did you play the game at all? Or?
I did not.
Okay.
I don't know. Like, I'm not a massive Batman guy. I'm not, like, very much in that world aside of just, like, the adaptations I've seen in movies and TV and stuff like that. Were you a fan of the game?
I was. I felt like the story kind of, like, dropped off around the midpoint and kind of, became your standard video game plot. But I liked it. The combat and stuff was maybe a little less, less fun than Arkham and stuff like that.
Sure.
But, I thought it was a solid game. I thought the story was fairly solid, and I was like, oh, they're doing a show based off the game, but it's not really based off the game. It has kind of no connection whatsoever, but they're using Gotham Knights. They've got the Belfry. They've got the Court of Owls. It's very similar in a lot of aspects. And I'd be interested to see what other elements they pull from the game into the show. I won't really go into too much. I'll try to, like, dance around stuff, not really go into too much detail from the game since you haven't played it, just in case you want to and don't want any spoilers or anything like that. But I think just, like, looking at similarities, there's a lot there.
Sure. It's kind of interesting. And, like, I kind of said this last week, is, like, I think the concept of Gotham Knights show is kind of cool. Like, this idea of you having this, like, city of guardian protectors after Batman dies is cool. I do think the thing that does ultimately hold it back, and again, it's not his fault because probably rights and stuff, is that you don't have all these cool characters that you think of when you hear Gotham Knights. You don't have your whole Dick Grayson, you don't have your whole, like, Barbara Gordon and all that stuff. And it's very apparent that they wanted to. Like, there's our Turner Hayes and I think Stephanie Brown. Those feel like Dick Grayson and, like, Oracle. Like,
yeah.
Turner Hayes for me, like, so far, like, he could, and again, this isn't the actual, he's Dick Grayson if he was boring for me so far.
Yeah, and he's also Dick Grayson if you could hear his British accent come through. I did pick up on that at one point. I thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, no, like, how would the reception of this show be different if, say, Turner Hayes was Dick Grayson, if we had, Barbara Gordon Batgirl, if we had a Jason Todd in there, if we had a Robin that was, Tim Drake, or even a Damian Wayne, how would that reception, I feel like, would be a lot more positive than we're seeing now, just because they're using, more obscure Bat Family characters. They're creating new characters with Turner Hayes, but I feel like, the idea and the sentiment is still there, so that's kind of what I'm kind of attached to, I guess, is that you can see where they wanted to go with this, but only time will tell if they actually get to tell the story that they really wanted to tell, if that makes sense.
I'll be kind of curious. And in their defense, one of my favorite things about the CW TV shows is they work a lot. They work well with little, and they have been able to tell some of the funnest, coolest like DC stories over the last couple of years. Not having your Supermans and your Batmans, like we had a really cool Arrow show because we couldn't have Batman. We had a really cool Supergirl show because we couldn't have Superman. A lot of stuff like that, and I want to give the show the chance to become something really cool, and maybe they do. Maybe Turner Hayes is better than Dick Grayson. I don't know. We don't know that yet. He could turn into something kind of cool. I just think there's definitely a learning curve here. It did make me think though throughout the episode. Too bad they couldn't have like mixed Batwoman and Gotham Knights together. Like imagine you have Batwoman. Nightwing, or not Nightwing, Batwing, and then like Stephanie Brown or something, and like that's your cast of like the Gotham Knights. You could have had and then the Court of Owls like element here could have been a really cool show.
Yeah, no, that's actually a very interesting idea because like they did introduce a version of Stephanie Brown in
Batwoman,
in Batwoman season 3 as well. So like, and I know obviously the creator was also a creative on Batwoman. Yeah, so there was a lot of crossover there. You can definitely see elements from Batwoman that are present in Gotham Knights, and I feel like you can also see elements that were present in the Gotham show that are also present in Gotham Knights as well. Gotham, that's one of my shout out Gotham. That was one of my favorites, honestly.
That was a fun show.
But I think it is its own thing. It's trying to tell its own story, but you can definitely see, like, I guess, artifacts of the past still left over in this, and possibly, where they would have wanted to take things. If they weren't, I guess, restricted by studio rights and stuff. I feel like, maybe they can't use Dick Grayson because Titans is already using him. They can't use all these other Robins because they're already being used. They obviously can't use Batman because they want to use him in the movies. So it's just like, all right, you can use these Bat family characters that we're not going to touch. So
it does make me, and I'll probably circle back around to this idea, but like there's so many moments in the show where I think it needs a Bruce Wayne figure, at least in flashback form, because there's so much telling and not showing that I think is really affecting me. Like I'm not very connected with the overall death of Bruce Wayne because I don't know this Bruce Wayne. I don't know his connection with these characters and his connection to the city. It's just kind of like, hey, it's Batman. Batman. Here he is. So I don't know. The thing that's interesting is they almost casted Jensen Ackles to play Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
So what happened? Are we going to get stuff later on? I
don't know, like, because we saw like the side of his face in that opening scene of the first episode.
Yeah.
And he had his Court of Owls coin because he was investigating them, or we'll talk about that a little bit later for when we get towards the end of the episode. But like, he was there for like 2 seconds. We see his face in the Bat cowl when he's dead and everything like that. But are we going to circle back around to flashback stuff? Are we going to get to see him, or is it just going to be all through this diary? Possibly. I don't know.
There's also, I don't know, maybe I'm just being like too hard on it. There's definitely dialogue that felt very weird for Bruce Wayne. Maybe I'm not, maybe it's just because they're like the way they're saying it or whatever, the actors or whatever. But there's like, that didn't sound like something Bruce would say. The way he's writing things down. I don't know. Was I the only one?
Oh yeah, no. I mean, it does. There's a little weirdness with all of this. Like something feels slightly off, and I feel like it's because they're trying to tell this new story with him. I feel like in some regards it's similar to how they changed things for the Telltale Batman, where they made Bruce's parents very much so tied to like criminal stuff. you know so I feel like maybe they're trying to do that with this show and say maybe this version of Bruce Wayne isn't the Bruce Wayne we all know.
Sure. So it definitely feels very Elseworld, and for me, and this is just my personal opinion, and this is even including like Batwoman, as much as I love Batwoman, any Batman who like outright kills is a Batman that I can kind of consider Elseworld, because that's not like I am fine like Titans. I'm totally fine with Titans like Batman just kind of going crazy and going nuts, because that's a fun story to tell. I think
Right.
the idea of Batman going nuts is fun to tell if it's Elseworld. If it's off in its own little thing, it's like, oh, like what happens when Batman goes evil? What happens when he dies or goes nuts or whatever? I just don't get the obsession with having him kill the Joker.
Yeah,
this is like the third show.
It's just like they're like, all right, we're gonna make a show. It's gonna be about the Bat family, but there's not gonna be Batman. And oh yeah, when he was Batman, he kind of murdered his villains.
Sure.
All right, time for a show.
Sure, and what's so crazy is I think as a show it'd be so much better if you put Batman on a pedestal, put him at the highest standard for him to work up to. And what's crazy is Batwoman almost did it. Like, they set it up where Kate had a hard time living up to the expectations of Batman. Right. And to the point where she wants to kill because she doesn't know how to handle it, and she goes to another Earth to find out, oh, like that's what happens when you kill, just to come back to find out, like, oh, it doesn't matter. Our Bruce killed too. It's whatever.
Yeah. No, I had a whole thing in my pilot review. I was like, Batman does not kill. He just, it's like number one personality trait of Batman. Like, you know, you gotta have the bat suit. He can't kill people. And that's about it. Like, that's all I need. That's literally the whole thing. Is like, his whole thing was, you know, if you kill a killer, there's still the same amount of killers in the world. Like,
yeah, 100%. There's so many good stories, and I do hope that, you know, with like Robert Pattinson's Batman and also Raven the Bold, that we can kind of create. I honestly, with James Gunn's whole universe, I hope that we can kind of go back to the basics with a lot of these characters. And again, Snyderverse, there's a lot of cool stuff there, but like that's not the basic, in my opinion. Like, that's not, like, I want a universe that feels like, oh, this is the DC universe. Very similar to like the old animated stuff, the whole like Justice League, like for me those are like like that's DC universe. Like, that's the golden standard. That's kind of like your prime universe besides the comics for me. And I kind of hope we can, you know, change the opinion of like Batman and Superman.
Yeah, no, it needs to feel like it's an existing DC universe, like that, you know, you could literally go open up a comic book and these stories could be happening in that comic. I know comics get crazy at times, but, you know, I just want it to feel a little bit more like maybe not what we come to expect, because, you know, obviously you want to be surprised with things. But I want them to, you know, maybe stop thinking about what can we do that is breaking the mold, what can we do that's going to be like the edgiest take on this thing, or the most, you know, controversial take on this thing that we can do. I just want to see a good Batman story, similar to how we have Superman and Lois, which is just a good Superman and a good Lois story. You know, like, it feels very comic booky in that regard. So I hope they, you know, translate that into the movies and stuff.
Yeah, no, and you know what I think is so kind of cool is that, like, we can have our very prime universe of characters that really follow the mode, and now we have a thing called Elseworlds where we can do that. We can have a movie where Batman is like a serial killer, like just like make it like a horror movie or something. You can do that. You can have your like Black Superman. You can have all these different things that you want to put in your universe that like breaks the mold. But I definitely think this should be like the DC universe. We got on a whole tangent there. But yeah, I definitely thought this episode was a step forward. How are you kind of feeling with our new kind of group of characters? We have Turner Hayes, and we have our little kind of team Gotham Knights, I guess. How are you kind of feeling about these like certain characters? Sure.
I don't know. I feel like they definitely had more personality this week than they did last week. I felt like there was more for them to do. We got to see a little bit, like I said, a little bit more personality, I feel like, from all of them. I feel like they're going in a decent direction. They obviously need to learn to work together if they're all going to try and take down the Court of Owls, which is, you know, something that Batman couldn't do. So how are these kids going to take down the Court of Owls? Maybe it's just going to be, you know, Turner's fencing and martial arts skills that are going to help him out. I don't know. You know, Bruce was preparing him. So
What I will say, though, that I kind of liked about that fight, and I didn't think that fight was the most amazing thing ever, but I did like the feeling that they did all feel like amateurs still. Like, they didn't feel like they... Like, Batwoman, I really liked Batwoman. I know a lot of people's complaints. It didn't bother me too much, but a lot of people was like, oh, she can just fight really well from episode 1 or whatever. I thought she still had training, but still, like, it feels like they're they have a place where they can all grow from.
Right.
Even Robin, who has been kind of doing this for at least a little bit now, she's still not very good, and she kind of gets her butt kicked by Talon.
Yeah, no, I like that too. There's definitely room for improvement for a lot of them. Obviously, they're going up against the city's big bad here, so they've got to take all the tools that they can, and I don't know. They got to use all the bat gadgets they can. The bat crossbow, the bat rocket launcher, all this random stuff that Bruce apparently has and gave to children.
I am wondering about that suit that Kelly, I think her name is, right?
Carrie Kelly, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think we're gonna get that upgraded? Because I'll be honest, and I'm fine if if it's just a starting point. I don't like looking at that suit. I think it looks the best.
It's a little bit different this week too. I mean, she's got some red on now at least. So maybe they'll just throw a little R on there. They'll be like, okay, here you go, little R patch, and then that might be all we get.
And like most of these shows have starter suits. Almost all of them, like we said, maybe Arrow, like Flash had a firefighter's uniform.
Right.
Kara had that little mini skirt. Like they've all kind of done that. I'm okay if we evolve into it. Even Titans, I remember like getting a lot of complaints where they're just like walking around in clothes. So I'm like, well, not superheroes yet. Like, it makes sense why they're not.
They need to earn it first.
Sure.
I feel like.
Episode 3, they're all just in like super suits.
Right.
I'd be like,
it'd be
a
like,
little weird.
Right. If we just start next week and Turner Hayes is putting on the bat suit, I'd be like, what I miss. I feel like that's something you gotta slowly build to that. But I feel like if we get to a point where it feels like the characters have earned these suits, kind of like I feel like. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but Daredevil did a very good job with it. Not giving us the suit from the beginning. I was like, "Where's the Daredevil suit? Where's the Daredevil suit?"
Sure.
And then you watch all through season 1, and he finally gets it at the end.
Yeah.
And it feels earned. So I feel like if they are going to give these characters comic accurate looks, I feel like it has to be earned in that same regard. Maybe not take quite as long, but
Sure. I'm not as familiar with a lot of these characters. How many of these characters do you think are going to get like suits or become like vigilante type characters?
I don't know, honestly, because I mean they're obscure in some regards. Carrie Kelly is the Robin from The Dark Knight Returns, so she has a Robin suit at one point. I was going through looking for images and stuff like that. There's an alternate Earth version of her that was like a Batwoman, I believe, too, which is interesting. With Stephanie Brown, you can go either the Batgirl route or the spoiler route. They did even, shout out Clue Master this week too, which I thought was kind of cool. Turner Hayes, I feel like they're obviously pushing him in that direction of becoming the next Batman.
I'll be curious to see what that looks like, because they're not going to give him the suit.
No. I feel like it's going to be Dick like
Grayson? like a Robin, like
maybe
Nightwing?
maybe they'll give him like a cool like a blue Hot Topic jacket or something like that with a little Nightwing logo on the front or something.
Duella's going to be interesting too. Just kind of see what they do with her.
Yeah, she's honestly one of my favorite characters. I feel like she kind of she feels like she actually kind of like knows her character in a way. Like it feels like the character is very like set in stone. It's like, okay, this is like this weird amalgam of like Harley Quinn, Alice from Batwoman, but like kind of her own thing at the same time. I thought, I think that character definitely has a lot of potential.
One thing I thought about at the end of the episode is it seems like they're maybe building something between Turner and Duella. And I thought, like, the son of Batman and the daughter of Joker is a storyline I never expected to see. Yeah, but it could be kind of cool. Like, it might be kind of...
Yeah, I definitely see them planting that. Once again, you can get those CW Riverdale vibes. I'm interested to see where they take it. I feel like it could definitely... I wouldn't put it past the show to do it.
Yeah.
Is all I'm going to say. I wouldn't put it past them.
It reminds me a bit of Supergirl, and I'm not a part of the like shipping community or anything like that. And I hate that fan base is so toxic. But I think the idea of having like a like Kryptonian character with like a Lex like a Luthor type character is kind of an interesting concept in theory.
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends kind of where they go, and it's also kind of hard to like predict for the show because it's like, will this make it past one season?
Yeah, that's and then if they do make it past one season, what's the plot? Because obviously this is the Bruce Wayne murder investigation, and then are we gonna have them clear their names, and then are they gonna just try to protect the city as the Gotham Knights? Are they just going to try and replace Batman in that respect? I feel like that could be interesting. But also, is the Court of Owls something that you can really tackle in only one season if they're really supposed to be this, all-powerful, behind-the-curtains, controlling Gotham City type of
I could see it being like what Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. did with, like, Hydra, where, like, the Hydra's kind of just the whole thing. Like, it's like they take their breaks from it, but, like, by the end of the season, it's still kind of Hydra pulling the strings and doing stuff. So,
yeah,
maybe...
It would be interesting if, like, maybe by the end of the season they're able to clear their names and everything like that. They think they've defeated the court, but obviously there's maybe there's somebody else lurking in the shadows to take up the leadership role in there, and then there's still maybe like behind the scenes and stuff like that, and that's something just maybe like a through line for the entire show possibly.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what all kind of characters they're allowed to use in the show as well. Like. What are going to be like each seasons, are we going to get cool like villains? Like, Batwoman was able to do a couple of cool like villains thrown in there, but even then they weren't allowed to use a lot of your big villains. You weren't like, you couldn't use like Killer Croc. They had to be like, oh, it's Killer Croc 2.0 or whatever. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, you can see that they're obviously referencing villains. We got an Edward Nygma name drop in this episode. I think that the makeup company from that first shot, that's Black Mask's company, I believe, right?
I didn't catch that. Yeah.
Of
course, Joker.
Yeah. They've mentioned Joker and everything like that. They're kind of planting seeds, trying to let the audience know that this is a lived-in Gotham City, that Batman did face these villains.
Sure.
They even did a Catwoman shout out too. So yeah, I feel like these villains are there. Maybe they're in Arkham, maybe they're in Blackgate or something like that. But would they be allowed to use them?
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'll be kind of curious to see where we go from here. And I think that's kind of just my opinion on the show, where I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's all right. Let's see what happens next.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I feel like it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's not the best thing I've ever seen. It has potential. I'm going to continue watching it because I'm intrigued by this mystery. I liked Batwoman quite a bit. I liked Gotham quite a bit. It seems like it's just kind of like a combination of these two shows that might be having a little bit of trouble finding its footing, but not everything is going to be perfect in its first season. It's I feel like it's very rare that we had shows like Arrow, like Flash, that had really strong first seasons that a lot of people will rank as possibly the best seasons of those shows, and where a lot of shows had trouble in that first season. I feel like the later seasons of Batwoman were a lot better than the first season. I feel like the later seasons of Gotham were a lot better than that first season. So I hope that this is sort of a repeat in that regard, that as the show continues, it finds its footing and it gets a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I always love stories of shows that have got just like so much hate and so much of this stuff, and they've been able to like pull themselves together and be like, yeah, we're gonna make something really cool. But what I think is ultimately going to happen is I think they're going to see all the trendings on Twitter. They're going to get picked up for a season 2. Season 2 is going to be really good, but no one watches in season 2, and then it gets canceled. I think it's ultimately...
Yeah. I mean, I hope that doesn't happen, that, I hope that the show is able to at least, tell the story that it's intending to tell. If I were them, I would most likely kind of, like, end this season on a note where it's like, okay, the show could be done, but not leave it on, like, a massive cliffhanger or anything.
Oh, like sure. That. And this is a season where I can almost see, like, a limited series type feel to it.
Yeah, I feel like it
one-off,
Yeah, I mean, I think it has, 13 episodes, so it could definitely...
I think so, yeah.
It could definitely tell, like, a complete, cohesive story, and I just hope it doesn't end like, like the Constantine show ended, kind of like a, what do we do now? A lot of shows have ended on just kind of like a we got canned, so but
Yeah.
I hope this one is able to again kind of like find its footing and everything, and be the show that it wants to be.
One thing I kind of noticed is how dark this show is. We've had I'm kind of shocked how much that they're able to do.
9 o'clock time slot. It allows it does wonders, I guess. You're allowed to show I guess decapitations and lots of I guess heads in boxes. So yeah, no, I mean this show it needs that because it is a Gotham City type of show,
sure.
Similar to how Gotham was. It was I think Gotham aired later on later in the night. So it allows for some of this stuff. It's obviously not going to get as gruesome as something like Punisher, like Daredevil, that type of thing. But I feel like it is definitely pushing the envelope for a network TV show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think when you have a setting like Gotham, you need to have that. And that's arguably something that Batwoman didn't do too much. They kept it kind of on the more safer side, but I think if you're going to have a show take place in such a dark and gritty place, a city without Batman as well. So you have to argue it would get progressively worse and worse and worse.
Yeah. Which maybe will allow for more villains to come out of the woodwork, possibly.
Maybe. I think we're meant to believe that this is a universe without anyone else, right? Without a Justice League or whatever.
At the moment, it seems like it's its own Earth, it's its own thing. All we've got is Batman at the moment, but obviously they haven't had too much time to possibly reference other stuff. I know people have had the idea that maybe it's on the same Earth as Superman and Lois.
Sure.
That could possibly be a thing because General Lane just said there were no other powered heroes, not necessarily no vigilantes. So,
And it could just be the fact that, they don't know each other yet or something.
Right,
or, they just never
exactly.
met. Sure.
But
is that something that you'd be a fan of if they, connected the two?
I mean, maybe if it's just surface level stuff at first, maybe you're going past a TV on Superman and Lois and you see investigation of the murder of Bruce Wayne or something like that.
Sure.
Or you're going past a newsstand in Gotham City and there's a newspaper article about Superman doing something Metropolis. I feel like that's kind of all they need to do at the moment. If they get a second season, I feel like then we could possibly take it in that crossover direction. But at the moment, I don't feel like they need to really push too hard to connect these shows. I know they're pushing their super nights, but
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if they really wanted to, they could have. I don't know. I feel like if you wanted to connect things, keep it all Earth Prime. If you really wanted to go that route, you could have easily made the show a prequel to Batwoman if you really wanted to. There's nothing here that besides Bruce Wayne being dead, but I feel like you could just retcon it, maybe.
Yeah. It could be just a crisis change.
Sure.
They've said so many other things are crisis changes that don't really make sense.
Yeah. Well, I think Batwoman was mostly after Crisis, though.
Yeah. That is true. I
don't know. I feel like there's ways you could have worked around that, and I think Sophie. I think Stephanie Brown. She was in, yeah, she was in Batwoman.
Yeah, right. She was in Batwoman as a completely different character.
Sure.
Yeah, so
there's small stuff, but I feel like you could have just. You could have worked around it. You could have, or even just have it take place after Batwoman or something. Have it take place in the future where now Bruce Wayne is dead.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I saw that kind of Batman Beyond idea being thrown around in here. What if what if they actually set it say 30 years in the future or something like that in a future Gotham City where we don't have to have this murder investigation. Batman just died because he's old. And then we have these other heroes coming out and trying to, take up for where Bruce left off or something like that.
Sure.
And kind of carry on his final case like they're trying to do in this, which is again very similar to the game. The Knight's trying to complete Batman's final case that he never got to finish.
Yeah. And there's even that idea that a lot of us have had where it's like, this could have just been Batwoman season 4. Like, you could have or I even wonder if maybe if it was, but then they knew they weren't getting it, so then they're like, let's pitch the show, let's hurry up and tell the story.
It's a weird spot because if I remember correctly, this was announced before Batwoman was canceled. So, yes. I mean, but it still has some of the same the same writers and stuff as Batwoman. So
that's what makes me think maybe it was like, oh, we know this is happening. Let's try and get as much of our team over to this new job.
Right. Maybe they kind of like shuttled ideas that they were possibly going to use in a Batwoman season 4 over to Gotham Knights. I feel like that's a possibility.
I think it's very similar to what happened, or what almost happened with like the Painkiller, because that was announced before, right before it was canceled, and we're like, how's that gonna work? How we're gonna just have both? And then none happened, which kind of sucks. But
not a great track record with spinoffs, unfortunately.
No, it's very COVID kind of messed everything up for us over on the Arrowverse vibe. Yeah,
not to mention that if we didn't have that crossover between Superman and Lois and Batwoman canceled, that Superman and Lois would have been on Earth Prime.
Yep. So. There's so many, the Wonder Girl show, and like there's so many directions where like I could pitch like, oh, this is how you like do your next phase. Like I'm totally fine with you phasing out like Flash and Legends and stuff.
Right.
You have Justice Hugh. You just introduced Booster Gold. You could have gave him a show.
Yeah.
There's so many options.
But I feel like a lot of that also kind of boils down to the movie side of things. Wanted a lot of these characters, I'm sure, with their whole reboot revival. So, I guess a lot of that stuff kind of became off limits to use on TV.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll never really know the technical side of things. Unfortunately, on that.
It truly, I think, was a bunch of things. I think it was just like, of course, the Next Star stuff. That that's the stuff that really drove it. I don't think James Gunn would have had an issue with us like keep telling these stories over here. I don't think, like, he doesn't care about Superman and Lois. I don't think he would have cared about Legends or whatever. Like, he would have been
just
fine.
Label it all Elseworlds and just say it's okay. It's separate from the movie stuff. I think everybody could understand that.
Sure.
There's no like conflict of interest there. There's I feel like in some regards the more adaptations of certain characters the better.
Sure. Especially, I will, and we'll move over to like some of the DC stuff like in a bit. But I wonder if he does have plans for the Elseworlds. Like, I wonder if they do tie in somehow.
Maybe because it is under its own label. So maybe if they end up going like multiversal eventually, like maybe we'll get to see Tyler Hoechlin's version of Superman interact with whatever this new version of Superman is for the movies. Maybe we'll get to see some of the past Arrowverse actors return in movies in like cameo roles, that type of thing. Like now we're seeing with the Michael Keaton Batman coming back, like we're seeing with all this type of stuff. Like I feel like in the next 10 or so years, that's when all of the stuff that we're seeing now will be like, oh, I remember that from back however long ago.
I have this like image stuck in my head for some reason. Like it's some future crisis where you just have like Keanu Reeves, Constantine next to like Stephen Amell, Green Arrow, next to like Robot Man, next to like Black Adam, Dwayne Johnson or whatever. It's just like a whole like lie of all these like it does kind of suck that like we had this really cool crisis and like we couldn't do all the like we couldn't go above and beyond of what we maybe could have.
Yeah.
I wonder if they regret letting CW do that. Like, I love the CW crossover, but I wonder if they regret, like, oh, we could have really used that.
Maybe, but it's weird, though, too, because it's like the movie side of things is obviously not really going to address that the CW did Crisis.
Sure.
Outside of maybe that's the way that the Flash got his name was by meeting the Grant Gustin Flash, and he's like, Flash, and he's like, I
could see them just like pretending that didn't happen.
That is true too. But then all the Grant Gustin rumors, will he repay the cameo? Will he be in the movie? I hope he's in the movie, but I don't see him taking over at all.
Oh no, I don't. I would be shocked. Yeah. Would you like it, or are you like against that?
I would personally like it, but I feel like Grant Gustin needs a break. He's done this for like 10 years. He needs to relax. He's got a family. He's got to, decompress from all this Flash stuff. If he's ready to come back in, a few years or whatever, great. But I don't feel like that would be fair almost to him to like do this show for 10 years and then the movies are like, all right, come be in our universe. You're going to be here for like another 10 to 15 years while we do whatever we're doing. But I don't know. Again, I'm not in his shoes. I don't know what his mindset would be on that. But from everything that he's said about the Flash wrapping up and stuff, it seems like he loved his time there, but he's ready to kind of move on with his life.
The only kind of I don't want it. I think that's kind of just lazy, just kind of throwing the most popular five. The only way I can see it working is like movies are a lot easier than doing 22 episodes a season. So he could maybe just film like once a year and then be done and have all this money. The only way I would want it though is if it's a really short run, pun intended, for that character. Like he's maybe in 2 Justice League movies and then they kill him off and then it's Wally type of thing. So like you have this real legacy character, which would almost work if you want to have this like massively sad death. What better way to make it sad if you put Grant Gustin, having him like he runs so fast and he like disintegrates and then Wally takes over the kind of mantle of Flash. That
would be cool. I feel like the only thing with that is we would have to make it very clear that it's
separate.
Not the it's not the TV version of it. It's Grant Gustin, but it's that TV Flash. He gets to go do his happy ending. I guess is what we're getting. Because according to Eric Wallace, nobody dies, but
no. I would just prefer someone new though. I think you have. Although I do really want Wally. I really want Wally to kind of be like the main like time Flash here.
Oh yeah, no, I could go on for like an hour about my pitch for like a Wally West DCEU movie. I won't go into it, but
sure.
I'd love to see that too. I really would.
Yeah, no, I'll be kind of curious because I do think you need Barry there, but I want maybe have it like do a Flash movie from the perspective of Wally. Like Wally's the main character, but Barry's training him through the movie type of thing.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Or like, Barry's there at the beginning and he, becomes one with the Speed Force and Wally has to take up the mantle and, learn what it means to truly be the Flash.
Honestly, it would make sense though, because it seems like we're getting Dick Grayson in The Brave and the Bold. Like it seems like we're gonna get him there. So I would not be shocked if we get like Teen Titans in like Phase Chapter 1 of this DC universe.
Well, my whole I guess hope for this is that we're going to be going into an already established DC universe.
Sure.
Kind of like how Young Justice starts, where we already have a Justice League. We already have, they're already known heroes. We're already at a point where, Dick Grayson's Robin. He's been Robin for a little bit. All these heroes have their sidekicks and everything like that. I feel like that would be a very interesting starting point, not to kind of like treat the audience like we need to see all these origin stories over and over and over again like we constantly get, which I feel like in some regards is kind of like a positive. For circling back to Gotham Knights is kind of a positive there. It's not really it is an origin story for some of these characters, but we're starting in a lived-in universe,
Sure. I'm so curious because it does seem like we're gonna have like a lived-in universe, at least in the extent of Gotham, right? Like this is a very established Batman, but then we got a very young Superman.
Yeah, which is a little weird because I'm like, Batman and Superman need to be like best buddies.
Sure, and then you have like Themyscira, which is a prequel. Although James Gunn has said he's taken inspiration from Star Wars, where we're going this timeline to this timeline, this here, so we can have all of it. We can have your origins here, and then the next movie is like, oh, this is Justice League or whatever.
Right.
So, which makes me excited for like stuff like JSA, where we can kind of like we could just have like a golden age type superhero movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that. I'm hoping that whatever ends up happening with James's vision for the DCEU or for the new DC universe is just, I hope it stakes the landing. is really the best way to put it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more as we.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, our topic at the end. I have a feeling. Well, I want to get through this next topic, and then we can kind of just have fun at the end with that final topic.
Yeah, totally.
So one of our main kind of pitches for doing this stream was we want to talk about The Flash in its kind of I would say this is like the mid-season point, where it kind of halfway through the season. We're about to start the rest of our interlude episodes, and that's for the Flash, the final season. So what are your thoughts on so far this kind of final season of the Flash?
Oh boy, the Flash's final run here. So we had Red Death for the first 5 episodes. Have a lot of unanswered questions from that, but it happens. It happens. I thought the setup for it was really good. I was intrigued by the Red Death mystery, where she comes from and everything like that. Was it an alternate timeline? Was it an alternate Earth? What was going on there. I feel like, having the rogues be a big part of it was something that a lot of people were looking for a while. Everybody's always been talking about a rogues team up, so we kind of got that in some regard as well. But I mean, big bottom line of this story is we just needed a Flash and Batwoman team up. We got a Flash and Batwoman team up, and surprise, surprise, Iris is pregnant.
Yes.
This
whole season, I think my main general thoughts have been just kind of like, why are we wasting so much time? I think that's kind of been everyone's kind of like, we spent 6 episodes on this stuff, and like I feel like you could have had a much tighter, much funner kind of arc here than what we got. I would have much preferred just like 2 episodes of like Barry and Ryan just kind of hanging out, like fighting crime.
No, totally. I would have much preferred, like, say maybe a 2 episode opener. Where Ryan's chasing some metahuman, maybe from Gotham. They end up in Central City, and it's like, all right, Batwoman, Flash team up. We, still get maybe a little bit of closure from Batwoman. That obviously wasn't, fully bookended because it was prematurely canceled and everything like that. So maybe we could have had a little bit of carryover. From the end of Batwoman, just have that little crossover in a very similar way to how season 8 started with Armageddon and everything like that, but then kind of take the rest of this beginning part to maybe further wrap up some storylines that might have been seen as like loose ends from past seasons, or just progress towards that final threat a little bit quicker. I feel like you're definitely right. They might be kind of like wasting a little bit of time here with certain things that some people might not care as much about.
Yeah, I wonder if that was done on purpose too, though, because like looking at the set photos, that I think we can pretty much talk about that because I think everyone's seen those. They're going to be very like CGI heavy, special effects heavy stuff that I think needs to look really good. Like I think it needs to look absolutely beautiful. And then obviously the Oliver Queen episode with Wally West and a whole bunch of stuff. I wonder if they purposely was like, hey, well, let's kind of waste some time until we kind of get to that back half.
I mean that's a possibility. Maybe they're just like, all right, interlude episodes. We can make some pretty cheap episodes. Save the effect budget for where it really matters.
Episode 6, I definitely feel that was like, we just need to spend no money on this episode. Just do what you want.
Episode 6. Jeez. That was the closest I think I've ever come to just like turning off an episode and just walking away and be like, all right, I'll come back later. That was the most like nothing episode I've ever seen. Like obviously they have to give your main actors some time off and everything like that. But I feel like there's so many other stories that you can tell. Instead of, for a lack of a better term, wasting one episode of a 13-episode short season, short final season.
Let me ask you this: if you could have created like a filler episode, like an interlude based on any other character, if it's in the Arrowverse or the Flash, who would that have been?
Oh, it definitely would have been like a Legends wrap up. Have maybe have them get like a distress beacon from the temporal zone, and then it's just an episode of the remaining members of Team Flash maybe helping the Legends escape from time prison or whatever they were being sent to with Booster Gold. Like I feel like that could have worked. Like obviously Eric Wallace had talked about using time to wrap up these other shows if they had gotten...
we didn't have the time.
We didn't have the time, yet we just stretched out the Red Death arc to 5 episodes when it could have been 2 episodes, and we have this interlude episode, and we have more interlude episodes. I don't know. I'm not a showrunner.
Sure,
I don't know what's
right.
going on. But obviously, the behind the scenes aspect is a lot more difficult than we make it out to seem. But again, like hindsight's 2020. We can look back and say we would have done this, we would have done that. But could it have actually happened?
Sure.
I guess
yeah.
the other question.
I spent a lot of my time like in this fandom being like very like fantasy, where it's like, oh, this I would have done this and then this and then this. I'm like, oh yeah, that could never have happened. But like even kind of me looking at this episode, like even if you couldn't create a whole set or bring all that Legends cast, have an episode where just like Katie Lott's taking over for Barry in Central City, where maybe it's Katie Lott's and three of the like have it be a very fun episode where they're just screwing up the job of like protecting Central City. It's a real fun episode, and Barry comes back and is like, oh, I'm gonna fix this up or whatever. Or what could have been really really cool is you have Katie Lott's. And then, obviously, like, the actors may not have been able to come back, but use, like, actors who were on The Flash and were on Legends. So bring back Mick, bring back Jax, bring back Ray, who are all big Flash characters. Could have had, like, a little send-off to Legends there.
Oh, yeah. Or you could do a literal, just title it Prison Break. You bring back you bring back Wentworth Miller and you bring back Dominic Purcell. You bring them in and they're like, all right, so the Legends are trapped in this time prison. We need you to make a plan to break it out and then to break them out. And then they just go full on referencing Prison Break and everything like that. And that there we go. That's my dream episode.
Yeah, I've said for years, my thing I've said for years, and obviously I don't know if the actor will be able to come back or whatever for this. I have said, spend those, let's say you have 3 interludes a season. Have it be that mid-season spot, and each time in that mid-season, they're just Wally. Barry and Iris go on, like, vacation or whatever, and Wally has to, like, protect Central City, and he's leading this team. You're not only, like, Barry and Iris can kind of have their time off, but then Wally kind of gets to stuff off screen that we've been asking for many years now.
That would be great.
Or just Bart and Nora episodes like we did last year, which was pretty good. Like I really enjoyed that last year.
I'd much prefer that over what we got what we got last week.
Sure. Even like I know Eric on over on Eric's channel, he mentioned Max Mercury. We could have had a like they said they were going to do Max Mercury this season, or no, it was supposed to be in season 10, but they couldn't do it. Right. Do Max Mercury? I don't know how that would work, but maybe I don't know. There's tons of routes they could have gone.
I feel like we could sit here and pitch so many different episodes, but we got what we got. Unfortunately, it seems like next week's episode is going to be a lot better of a filler episode, especially since we're getting Dreamer coming over from Supergirl. We're getting an interesting seeming storyline at least. So
it honestly seems like from this point onward, and I hope this is the case, it's going to be pretty good from this point onward, because each episode kind of feels like, I don't know, something big. Because we have the Dreamer episode, and then we have the Mode episode, but it seems like it's going to be like connected to a larger thing, and a potential like surprise character popping in there, an old friend of Team Flash. So hopefully that's... Do you think we're going to get Cisco?
I hope we do. Did you see the thing where he was at a convention and somebody asked? Yeah. So I don't know. I hope. Well, in one of the synopses for I think it's 8. Episode 8. That it talks about Keone going to meet an old friend of Team Flash. I hope it's Cisco. I
think that's my kind of last chance. I think it's either that episode. Maybe they snuck him into the series finale somehow.
Maybe
he was always that one character where like we need him back, like somehow we need him in there. It'll feel weird.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I keep seeing people like post old clips from old seasons, and like they're posting the scene from from season 1 where Cisco confronts Wellsabard, and Wellsabard just vibrating hand through the chest. Like I'm like, that's like one of the best scenes in the entire show.
I want to get back to that comment just a second. I am kind of running behind on chat here. I do want to answer some of these.
You're good. Go for it.
Noah says, "Hey, nice to see you, Noah. Great popping in. He was on our channel a couple months ago. It was great having him on."
Hello.
Kaiza? Hope I pronounced your name right. I'm calling it now. Either Mannheim is working with or working for Lex halfway through the season. Lex is revealed to be the mastermind pulling the strings. You think that's likely?
I definitely think Lex is involved, whether he's, maybe funding Bruno Mannheim's research, it seems like. I feel like he definitely could be kind of like lurking in the shadows and
Sure.
pulling the strings. I think that's definitely a direction that I could see them going.
Sure. I'm very concerned, not concerned, but like if Supergirl did something very similar with Agent Liberty, where it was revealed that he was like controlling him behind the scenes the whole time.
Right.
I hope they do it in a way that feels like unique to its own show. And then you'll just get the like complaints with like, oh, why don't you just have John Cryer or whatever, you know?
Yeah. I think he was busy during this, wasn't he?
John Cryer?
Yeah.
John Cryer went on Twitter and he kind of shaded the show for not including him this season.
Oh, interesting.
Him and like Michael Rosenbaum were kind of throwing shade at Superman and Lois, which was like, ooh, that kind of hurts. You can tell John Cryer really wanted. Did you see where he wanted a like Legion show? Like he pitched
yeah.
Legion
Like
of,
he pitched
villain?
a Legion of Doom show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been kind of nuts. I don't know how that would have worked.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they kind of did what they could do with Legion of Doom with on Legends.
Sure.
But like it'd be, I don't know, because you would almost need the hero characters in there too, because like obviously they're not going to be stopping crimes, they're going to be committing the crimes. So
Yeah.
who's gonna be stopping it would be, I almost feel like that would be better as maybe a crossover or something like that.
What my kind of idea, and I've had a similar idea, where have it be a limited series the season
that'd be a good idea,
prior,
too.
where it's limited series and it leads into the next crossover event. So like they're the crossover villains, but like the whole season is them like developing the team and doing things like planning like an entire plan, and then the crossover is them. Yeah, that's the only way I can see it. I can't see like a 5-season Legion of Doom show.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, Sam, probably still gonna watch Gotham Knight despite the hate, but I can't help throw in. I'm not gonna. Yeah, I would say just make your own opinion on it. I've seen a lot of people in our little community of people really have enjoyed it. I think it's been solid so far. I think it's been pretty fun.
Yeah, no, definitely a lot better than advertised.
Miata, I thought the whole season was a waste of time, which I shouldn't be feeling in the last season. Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yep. Yeah, we're just kind of, maybe taking our sweet old time getting to whatever the big plot of the season is.
It does feel like we're just kind of like waiting for stuff to happen. We're just like, all right, we'll get there at some point.
Yeah, and it's almost maybe the fact that Eric Wallace is still trying to do this graphic novel thing. Like we have our Red Death graphic novel as our first 5 episodes. Then we have our interlude in between that first and final graphic novel of the season. Like I almost feel like it would be better if it was just all one. Like if we go back to that original form of storytelling, like we said earlier, have that that Flash and Batwoman crossover for like the first couple of episodes. Then we, maybe have a couple of interludes to give, Wally some more story, maybe wrap up Legends a little bit, and then get straight into final big bad time.
Absolutely. You definitely could have had like an 8-episode arc with like 4 or 5 episodes of just like filler. No, I wouldn't even say filler because it's fun stuff. Like some of the favorite episodes of these shows are like filler. The crossovers are filler normally. Yeah. So like,
Enter
I don't
Flash
know.
Time.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some of the greatest stuff are filler. So you can really have some cool stuff there. Referencing that episode, the Accelerated Man. Yeah, that would have been cool.
Yeah.
Wonder what happened to him. I wonder what the deal was with that, because I feel like they had to have had plans to do something.
I would hope so. I mean, remember the theories that everybody thought it was like another version of Hunter Zolomon, and they were like, looking at like Teddy Sears' face and looking at Accelerated Man's face, and they looked similar. I was like, oh, that'd be interesting, but I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder.
Probably never see it.
I wonder if it was like switching up with showrunners or what kind of happened there.
Yeah.
I remember the theory that it was the speedster that Jay was training, because they Jay had said she was training a speedster, a female speedster or whatever. That dropped. I don't know what happened there.
I wonder. So many drop storylines.
You know what? I really do think that was Nora. I think that was supposed to be Nora. I bet.
Yeah, maybe.
I bet maybe the original plotline was like Nora went to Jay to train her or something, and then maybe that led into season, because they hinted at it in season 4, and then season 5 was Nora, so that would have made sense.
And obviously, because he is like a big, I guess, mentor type of character in those future episodes that we were seeing too. So that's that's a possibility.
Yeah. Hopefully it picks up like episode 7.
Yeah.
Is that next week? Episode 7?
Next week,
yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Stargirl is so amazingly underrated for real. I just finished season 1, episode 11. Yeah, Noah's been texting me back and forth about his opinions on Stargirl. It's good, man. Man. just ooh.
You're in for a treat. Stargirl is one of the best.
Yeah, we talked like just like Superman Lois. I think Stargirl is like peak television. I think it's good.
It was so just unfairly treated by the network for being canceled like it or ended like it was. Like it had the potential to go on for so much longer. I mean, they did what they could with that final season and wrapped it up beautifully, I thought. But I would have loved for it to continue on.
Yeah. It really sucks because I think it's on that level of like Superman and Lois. But the thing Superman and Lois has is just that it's Superman, and like you're going to get those outside people watching because it's Superman. Like people want to see what Superman does. Stargirl doesn't have that kind of leverage. It kind of gets grouped in with like the everyday kind of Arrowverse stuff when it's not really that at all.
No. I mean, it was for the better part of it. It was also like a JSA show. It could have been called Stargirl and the JSA. It was
absolutely. Noah, I won't spoil anything, but episode 10. I think episode 11 is my favorite of the show, I think. I won't spoil it, but that episode's really good. Stargirl is very disappointing. You put that thing on like HBO Max and it would have done so well.
I know, and it's so weird. It like got like bounced around because it was airing on DC Universe, and then like right before it started airing on DC Universe, they were like, oh, it's going to also air on the CW the next day. And it was getting like more viewership the next day on the CW than it was even on DC Universe. And then DC Universe kind of like imploded on itself. So then it was just all CW and everything like that. And then didn't it like when it came to HBO Max, it started like doing better numbers than things that were like specifically airing on HBO Max or something?
When season 3 dropped, it was the #1 show on HBO Max.
Yeah.
I wish, honestly, even if it's not going to get picked up, I know that, but I hope Beck continues to do Stargirl. I could totally see a scenario where she's just like the new Stargirl, whatever James Gunn's universe is.
Oh yeah, and I mean, like, well, she's going to be in this episode of Titans whenever they come back, if they ever come back. I don't know what's going on with Titans.
What if it's nothing? What if there's no crossover?
Oh, if it's just they're just there in the suit, just to take a picture. It's like, yep, cool, I was here. All right,
this
bye.
has been one of the craziest things in this fandom. This 3-part crossover that exists, but also hasn't been confirmed to exist yet.
Yeah, the elusive Titan Stargirl Doom Patrol crossover.
Yeah.
The DC Universe subscription service crossover that we all didn't ever know that we actually needed.
It's really funny because someone had contacted me about this leak, before anything came out about it. I was one of the first to see that this was a potential thing happening. I didn't do it. I didn't touch it because I'm like, it's probably fake. There's a Stargirl and Titans crossover. That's ridiculous. And then his account got blocked. His account disappeared. I'm like, oh, what's happening? And then everything started coming out that this was a thing. Apparently the guy got in trouble or something for sharing it around. But I kind of felt like a celebrity for a second. I was like, that's kind of cool.
Big deal.
I know. But yeah, do you have any? We barely touched the Flash, but do you kind of have any what's your kind of feelings right now?
Right now, I hope that the show is given the satisfying end that it deserves. The Flash is some of the best DC TV that we've gotten. Season 1, season 2, season 3 in some regards will go down as some of the best Arrowverse seasons that we've seen. And while it might have maybe dropped off a little bit towards the middle from all the set leaks and everything like that, I don't know how far you want to go into that, but it seems like the back end of this season, the final graphic novel has the potential to wrap up the show in a very satisfying way, and I really hope that it does, for the sake of just kind of the legacy of the show and the legacy of the Flash. It would be kind of a bummer to go out on if the final season was just kind of
Yeah, no, I I'm kind of very depressed about the whole thing because, like, for me, like, the endings for shows is everything for me. Like, you can have a terrible ending, but if you have a good, or you can have a terrible beginning, but if you end good, then it's a good show in my mind. And this is not only the ending for The Flash, it's the ending for, like, 700 plus episodes of television, like 30 seasons, 40 seasons of television. I need it to end, at least end in a very positive way. I am so concerned for episode 9 because they could be really cool, but like if they screw up Oliver, I think Oliver's reputation will always kind of be a little.
I don't think Stephen Amell would have come back if it wasn't a good story. You know,
Sure.
if it didn't honor Oliver Queen, if it didn't honor Arrow as a show, I don't think that he would have come back. So I have to have a little bit of faith in that regard, that at least they would be honoring the character, honoring the show if Stephen Amell signed on to come back, and he seemed excited for it. So I don't want to worry about it. You know?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's very fair. But yeah, I'll be kind of curious how they. And honestly, I do find that ending that seems like they're going for, seems like a perfect ending for me. Like that's how I'd end it. Yeah, that's how I would have done it too. And what's crazy is it wasn't supposed to be the series finale. It was supposed to be the 200th episode. I don't know if you heard that at all.
No.
He said that the original plan was for this to be their 200th episode, and since they weren't getting there, they had to do it now.
Oh wow.
So what was the original plan for the series finale? If this was like, how do you top this?
I mean, I don't even know. Like, this seems like kind of where you would naturally want to end things, to kind of like bring everything full circle. But
Sure.
And I guess now that you say that, in many regards, it does almost feel like it's kind of building off what they did in that 100th episode back in season 5 a little bit. So
I wonder if all the characters were meant to return, but maybe not who's behind them. Like, I wonder if that was always planned for the final season.
Maybe.
Because it was always strange to me that he never just did it. Like I wonder if his always plan was, oh yeah, he's the final villain for everything.
Right, because that theory had been going around since literally the end of season. I guess the end of season 1, beginning of season 2.
It's so insane. Now. It's one of those things, and I said the same thing for like Dark Archer or Tommy, where I'm like, if you don't do it, like everyone will look back on it and be like, why don't you do the thing? Even the actor himself is like, hey, I want to do this thing.
Yeah. Tommy Merlin is Prometheus, confirmed.
Oh, the like vigilante theories. Oh
man, I miss those days. Just theorizing on everything. Just slap somebody's face on a masked character.
Oh man, I remember Vigilante. I thought was Robert Queen. I was so convinced it was Robert Queen from Earth 2 that was like the Green Arrow.
Interesting.
I was so convinced, and I remember I was so mad when I had no idea who was like they lifted the mask. I was like, who is this character?
Who's this guy? I don't even know him.
It was I'm still a little upset about that. But that vigilante reveal was quite underwhelming. I'm gonna look at some of these comments real quick. What would you have done if you had creative control of the Green Arrow and the Canaries? I assume the spin-off show. What would you have done with the Green Arrow and the Canary show?
I guess I kind of would have. It's weird. It's like the setup for that is almost very similar to what we're getting with Gotham Knights in a kind of way, because like they had their Belfry and everything like that. It was basically just Birds of Prey, for that spinoff. So, and it was like, taking place in the future and everything like that. So you could do your kind of like Batman Beyond, Green Arrow Beyond type of thing. So I mean, for the most part, it seemed like it was just going to be future Arrow.
Yeah.
Is really the best way to put it. And then, almost like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles did that fast forward season. Like, I feel like it could just be like that weird, like, kind of like cyberpunky spin-off, future versions of villains and everything like that.
Sure.
But maybe not take itself too seriously.
Yeah, I think that was always the issue for me for Green Arrow and the Canaries, where it's always like, how do we make it not just Arrow 2.0? And I've had the same thought with like the Flash, where people have pitched like a Nora and Bart show.
Right.
The only thing I could think of making different is have it be like a team show, where I'd have it like be your future Justice League or whatever. Like kind of like just like combine the two, have your Bart, Nora, William. Maybe like you're like a Nissa. Maybe, I don't know. You can have some of those future heroes.
That would actually be an interesting idea. Is not focus maybe on one character, but just like combine all of these the Lost spin-offs.
Sure, Painkiller.
Just
Wonder Girl.
Throw them all in there. Maybe make just like a DC special event. Like a kind of like the Marvel special presentations. Just do that, but but for DC, just kind of like a what would the Arrowverse in the future be like?
Sure. Or just have your Green Arrow and the Canaries have it be like a limited series, like a one-off, your one story. I've always thought, I always kind of like the idea of like your villain of the season being like future Sarah, as far as like Diggle's daughter.
Oh yeah.
You just kind of have that one-off story, share the legacy of like Oliver Queen, and then kind of wrap it up, and then she can come back for the crossovers and stuff like that if you want her to. Yeah,
that would be interesting.
What up, LBM? Great to have you here. Welcome back. The Speedy and Arsenal show everyone wanted and never got. I definitely would have preferred that show.
Yeah. Just call it like Red Arrows.
Although Thea wouldn't have come back. It was clear that she did not want to be there. Arsenal, though, I would have loved an Arsenal spinoff.
I wish we got more of Arsenal, honestly.
Arsenal, it's so the whole story behind what happened and behind the scenes stuff. It's so upsetting. But
no, it is.
Looking back at Arrow, that's the one thing where I'm always like disappointed. Like we didn't get more of like Arsenal and also Black Canary. It's kind of insane. Like looking at a show of Arrow, like that wasn't your kind of trio. Right. Not being one of those like I like the Arrow we got. I like the Team Arrow, but there's a part of me that's like I would have liked that show too.
If that was Team Arrow, and then like if you've seen the the artwork for like the new Green Arrow comics coming out, where they've just got like all of this like giant Green Arrow family, and I'm like, I would have loved to see that on the show.
Sure. There's this weird thing, and I did a stream a couple months back where I kind of pitched my own like DC universe, and I did originally I literally had a Green Arrow show, and I'm like, oh wait, we literally had that. I can't do another one, so I just made it a movie. But like I kind of want another one where it is more like not like I like the Arrow we got. I'm not mad that it kind of stirred and became its own thing, but I kind of wish it was a little bit more comic accurate, I guess.
Arrow 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Although, I do think they did try their best. Like, I think, despite the circumstances, they tried to get themselves back on track and do more Green Arrow stories.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. Sad we never got to see Black Lightning and Green Arrow meet. Think that would have been a great friendship. I do, too.
Yeah. Just the two kind of like street level vigilantes would be fun.
Oh sure, that would have been a great crossover. Although Oliver would have just came in and like killed Tobias, and the show would have been over.
It'd been like, yo, come on, just you see what I did there? Just do that with all your villains now. It'd be good.
Yeah, no, there's so many crossovers. I've been wanting to do a video for a while where I'd just be like, hey, what would all these other crossovers have looked like if shows kind of swapped past, like Arrow and Supergirl, or Legends and Stargirl with like your JSA connections. I don't know. There's a lot of potentials, I think.
Yeah, that could be fun.
Legends and Flash never had one, which is absurd to me.
Yeah. Oh, and then that kind of makes you think of that original trailer where we had like all that like deleted footage where like the Flash was in there and he still I think had like the red emblem and stuff. It was
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I did not watch the trailer. That was at the point where I was kind of just binging like everything. I would have been so mad if I saw the trailer before I saw the episode.
If you go back and look at like that original trailer for Legends, it looked like a completely different show. I think there was only like one scene that they kept, but it was a reshot different version of a scene. Like the pitch for the show definitely seemed like they thought that they could get like Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell to appear on it more often. But obviously that never happened.
Yeah, that was an interesting. It was a really good trailer though. Like that, like I look back on it, it gets me really hyped every time.
Yeah.
Legends is an interesting one. I have a love-hate for Legends. I think.
Oh yeah.
I love the show it became, but I miss the show it was as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Introduce Lightning Lad and what was that referring to? It is kind of interesting we didn't Lightning Lad. That's Legion, right? That's like Legion of Superheroes?
Legion of Superheroes. Yeah. So maybe in like that the future Arrowverse stuff.
I always kind of wanted a Legion of Superhero show.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
Budget wouldn't have allowed that, but like if I could have like unlimited budget, that would be the show I'd get.
Ooh, maybe if you had like the budget of Krypton. There
I still have not seen Krypton. It got canceled before I got on it.
Oh, you should watch it, but like that's one of those shows that was like a one season and done that had a cliffhanger that I was like, oh, I wish we would have gotten to see the rest of this.
Didn't they get a second season?
Did it?
I swore I thought it got 2 seasons.
Hold on.
Set up a spin-off with Lobo and then got canceled.
Okay, wait, yeah, that was the second season. Yeah, I think so. Krypton seasons. Okay, yeah, there were 2 seasons. Okay.
Yeah, was there?
I stand corrected.
It's one of those few shows. Krypton and Pennyworth are the two I unfortunately never got around to.
I never watched Pennyworth.
Pennyworth I love Alfred, but I have no interest in watching a show about Alfred.
I feel like they could have just advertised it a little bit better. Like it was just kind of, I don't know. It didn't appeal to me, even though I think it still had some of the Gotham creatives behind it. Actually,
yeah, I thought originally it was supposed to be like a prequel or whatever, but then I think things changed or whatever. I also found it hilarious how they changed the title in season 3. I don't know if you saw that.
The origin of Batman's butler.
Yeah, that's hilarious. They're like, maybe if we put Batman in the title, people will watch it. Hey Jack, he said, hello brothers, just finished watching the new Superman Lois episode, and that ending was sad AF. I agree. It was very
very sad ending, unfortunately. But be hopeful.
I saw like 4 episodes of Pennyworth and I thought it was mid. Yeah, it just didn't look like my kind of show. I also didn't watch Swamp Thing. Did you watch Swamp Thing?
No, I didn't. I was going to, but then it got canceled, and I was like,
that was me too.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yep, never mind.
I tried to. I watched the first episode when I put it on the CW.
Yeah.
And there was because that was my plan. I thought that was genius because there's no like DC shows on. I was like, watch.
Right.
I watched 1 episode. I was like, I'm done. I don't care.
Yep. I heard some people really liked it because it was like a very, very like horror-esque kind of show, but I don't know.
It is so crazy because it has like the most like device fan base I've ever seen. I've seen some people who have said it's like one of the worst things. I've heard some people say that it's the best thing DC's ever put out, and like has this like humongous fan base. I hear it's good. I don't think I'll ever go back to it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe if we're in a big content drought again, maybe I'll have to go back and
maybe next year maybe is the time.
Clean up shop, watch all the shows I never watched, but
Although I wonder if you'll have like a revival type thing, because if the something movie's happening, maybe a bunch of people will go back and watch the show to kind of get like a refresher.
Yeah, maybe. Or if any of that cast will possibly carry over.
Sure.
Maybe they don't want any connection to what came before.
Yeah. I don't know. I do wonder if it was all supposed to be connected. Like, do you think all of those like DC Universe shows were supposed to be part of a larger verse?
Maybe they're trying to all be on like their own Earth. Like, they definitely seemed to want to connect Titans and Doom Patrol at first. Yeah. But then they definitely did a lot of things to show, okay, no, they are actually separate. So, and then Stargirl was never really connected to anything outside of now it's connected to the Flash technically, and it's just like I guess just Earth 2 of this new multiverse because Jay Garrick. But then that opens up a whole other can of worms. Is like apparently it's the same Jay Garrick, but
I don't. Honestly, I don't even care if it's like canon or whatever. I still love the idea of like the Batman being connected to Stargirl because they both said it's Earth 2.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
how funny would that be? And it works because like I don't like that franchise is never gonna bring in like Stargirl or Hourman or whatever. Like they're so drastic in tones, and characters. Like they would never cross over, so you can just live your whole life thinking that they're the same the same universe.
Okay, yeah, no, that's how I'm gonna sleep at night now, knowing that Stargirl and the Batman are connected.
Yeah. Feels weird now having a not having a Flash episode tomorrow, but I think we do need a break after last episode. That's fair.
Mm-hmm.
Is there only one break this season? Like, are we done after this break?
No, I think there's another break coming up that's going to be a 2-week break after...
Interesting. Episode 9?
In a few weeks. I think it's either after episode 9 or right before it, which is interesting.
I don't want before. I can't do that.
Yeah, I can't remember. I believe it was Paigey talking about it, that there's going to be another break coming up in a few weeks. And it's around episode 9. It's either right before it or right after it, which could signify that episode 9 kind of has something to do with that final storyline if they want to kind of like do it all in one stretch.
Sure. I will say, like, I think the like hiatus is going to be better this season.
Yeah.
Especially for Superman and Lois.
Yeah, I was about to say that, yeah, because that was like everybody's biggest criticism last year was that there were just too many breaks.
Last year was torturous.
Yeah.
There, like, you would have one episode coming back and then next week a break, and it was a point where I almost wanted to stop watching live because it was a lot.
It was a lot, and it was like kind of difficult to figure out actually when the show was on too. It was like, oh, there's a new episode tonight. Oh, there's no episode tonight. It's like, what's going on here?
Even season 1 was really weird because they like swapped it with like Supergirl, where like it had its first half, and then it went off for like 6 months for Supergirl to play, and then it went back. It was weird.
Yeah, I feel like it'll be better this season because the show's they're done They're done filming now, so they've got all the time they need.
Absolutely. Pennyworth is essentially an early 2000s action-packed TV set in an alternate timeline, 1940s if I recall correctly. Yeah, it seemed really fun. It doesn't, not my kind of cup of tea.
Yeah.
Personally. Favorite and least favorite crossover. I assume Arrowverse crossover. Do you have a favorite and least favorite?
Ooh, I'm gonna be controversial here and say my favorite was actually Elseworlds.
Ooh,
I know a lot of people didn't like Elseworlds, but I loved like the hype leading up to it and everything like that. That was like, I don't know, it was just like peak hype. We got, the Batwoman announcement, we got all that type of stuff, and it was a fun crossover, I felt like. And then least favorite, maybe I don't know, like, would you count the little like single episode crossovers as crossovers? Because then it would just be like one of those very early like rudimentary crossovers where not much happened. But if we're talking like big event crossovers, honestly I was the most disappointed with Crisis, oddly.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So maybe that's like the most controversial hot take ever. Elseworlds better than Crisis.
I'd say I feel like mine's pretty basic. My favorite's Earth X. I just think Earth X is probably my favorite like DC thing ever, probably. Like it's just everything us fans wanted. Like it was peak for me, Arrowverse, just among everything. And then least favorite was Heroes Join Forces. I think you had that season 4 muck in there that wasn't my favorite. It wasn't bad though. I still enjoyed it. There'll be 2-week break before episode 8.
Or after episode 8.
Break. Oh, after. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense then. So we have 2 weeks? That's kind of frustrating, but oh well.
Yeah, and then I feel like then it'll be straight shot to the end end of the season after that.
Oliver through series finale, yeah.
Yeah.
Theories for Brave and the Bold. Do you have any theories for Brave and the Bold?
It's weird, but I feel like if they're doing Damian Wayne, they're doing all this type of stuff, it makes me think of that the animated films and everything like that where once again Court of Owls. I almost don't want that to happen because I feel like they're being oversaturated now.
Yeah.
But if I had to make a prediction / theory for it, I feel like that might be something, or obviously like a big League of Assassins tie-in as well.
Roz, yeah. I have a feeling. I hope they. You know what? I'd be down to do what the anime stuff and do Slade. I'd be down with Slade.
That'd be fun. I just want to see something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, same. Although we haven't seen Slade in like the movies, I don't think, right?
Outside of the
The post-credit scene. Yeah. So I'd be down. I do think you need someone. I want give me like Hugo Strange, something really you haven't seen before.
Yeah, and I feel like Brave and the Bold definitely has the opportunity to be maybe the more fantastical side of Batman, while the Batman can be the more grounded side of things, which I kind of like a lot, to kind of maybe very much so separate the two of them, so that there's not that comparison of them being, why are we having two versions of Batman?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna have two completely different versions of Batman, I hope, at least.
I will say, if maybe not this movie, because I don't know if he'd be a good opener, but if the Batman doesn't use him, I need Mr. Freeze in something.
Bring back Arnold. You need to chill. I
wouldn't be against it. Or I've heard a lot of people theorize. I know Koi Jandro from the Real Rejects. He has said Red Hood, where have it be a really personal connection, where you're introducing one son and bring back the son who died, like the son he failed to save. Could be a really
and
fun,
maybe have
story.
that. Maybe have that conflict too, where maybe Damian wants to use his League of Assassins training and kill the villains, and he's like, oh, Red Hood's doing it. So
sure, yeah.
Batman's
if you don't do that here, I think you at least need to do it in that trilogy. So honestly, that could be a great third film, final kick butt trilogy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, Red Hood brings in so much of the larger DC world, League of Assassins and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah, no, I've definitely
Joker.
had my kind of Red Hood pick up with a lot of being a lot more into Red Hood stories and stuff like that as of late. Just looking at different comics and stuff like that has kind of made me a much bigger fan of that character than I was a while back. So I definitely want to see a good version of that character in this new DCU.
Did you like the Titans version of Red Hood?
I mean, at points maybe, but I think we need a slightly more comic accurate take, where he's not just straight he just did some crazy stuff.
Season 3 kind of confuses me, because I feel like you had so many you have Red Hood, and then you also have Blackfire, and then you use Scarecrow as your main kind of villain.
Oh yeah, season was all over the place. That season was all over the place.
It's weirdly enough still my favorite season, but they made
yeah. They made some interesting choices. We'll leave it at that. Oh yeah, and also where was Crypto with his cape? I remember them showing a poster, and Crypto had a cape for season 3. Yeah, I made a whole video on this back when it happened. Yeah, when Crypto was gonna be a big thing, they made a poster and he had a cape, and he never had the cape in the show, and I'm kind of sad about that.
I didn't know that. I would. You know what I guarantee is gonna happen? Superman Legacy is 100% doing Crypto.
I hope they do Crypto.
James Gunn loves his pets. They're gonna make us fall in love with Crypto, the dog. I know it.
Oh yeah, we're getting Cosmo and Guardians. We're gonna have Crypto. We gotta have Crypto.
100%. Oh man, I'm so excited for James Gunn's heart. I'm so excited to fall in love with every single character.
Oh yeah, and I'm ready for the music too. He's gonna make me make another whole playlist for all this new DC music probably.
Oh yeah. The Titans Red Hood actor would be a good candidate for Damian. It's really funny because that actor really, really, really wants to be involved. Did you see all those tweets he sent to James Gunn?
I don't think the problem with Red Hood and Titans was the actor. I thought he did a really good job with what he was given. I liked his take on the character, but I just feel like some of the things that Titans had him do was very much so a disservice to Jason Todd.
It really, you have a long-term, in theory you have a long-term Titans show. It really should have spread out this idea of him. Let his death simmer. Yeah. Have him die in season 3 or whatever, and then have season 6 or whatever be the actual story. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it shouldn't have been as fast as it was. It shouldn't have been I'm mad, I'm dead, I'm Red Hood.
Sure.
Oh no, I'm good now. Bye. It shouldn't have. Yeah.
that's kind of the issue with all the villains, really. Like, Trigon was one episode. Slade was weird. Slade kind of just did stuff.
And we had Zombie Slade, too.
We did.
I feel like the season 4 could be the best season if it actually comes back and continues airing.
Sure. I think season 4 has been the best. I've just kind of not cared. Like, after season 3, I'm kind of just, like, I'm just kind of done, I think.
And also we know it's the last season, so it's like, does it really even matter at this point, too?
There is a weird thing that's kind of happened with me with Titans, though, where, like, after all the cancellations, all the DC shows, even if I didn't like them, kind of like, all right, like, come here, you're mine now. Like, I'm gonna, like, protect you and cherish you for every last breath until you're all over. That's kind of with, like, Gotham Knights, where it's like, I'm not a huge fan right now, but also, like, you're the only thing I really have left, so...
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so we've been going for like 2 hours. I cannot believe it. I want to get into this last topic, and then if you need to go, I can let you go. So Shazam! Fury of the Gods came out this past weekend. I kind of feel a little bad because I feel like I maybe forced you to go see this movie.
Oh no! Literally, I was planning on going to see it anyway. I was gonna see it like the day that it came out, and then some stuff came up. I didn't end up going. So no, this was perfect timing. Literally, there was no one in my theater. There was just it was me. It was my brother, my dad, and then one other random person. There was nobody there. We basically had the theater all to ourselves.
You went
Sunday night. Sunday night.
Sunday. Oh,
yeah.
That's rough.
So that was still opening weekend.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, there's been a whole lot of news recently about what's been happening behind the scenes with this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But just kind of like your general thoughts, just kind of out of the theater, what your kind of reaction to it was.
General thoughts. The critics are being overly harsh with this movie. It's a fun superhero movie. It's a fun popcorn flick. You're not, looking for a creative masterpiece here. I feel like if you like comic book movies, if you liked the first movie, you're gonna like this movie. It's fun. It has action. It has heart. It has humor. It has, everything that you would be looking for in a superhero movie. It has the visuals. It has, kind of everything that you would be looking for, but also I guess in a critic's eyes, it's very similar to everything else that's out as far as superhero movies go. So maybe that's where they kind of like started not attacking the movie, but like it lost points for them in that regard, maybe.
Yeah, I'm very nervous for superhero movies for like on the critics' eye, because you can tell I think critics are done with superhero movies. And I think that's very dangerous for the comic book community, because I think movies, like typically I think this is a movie that comic book fans would really like and really enjoy, but the critics maybe not anymore. I think after 30 plus Marvel movies, they're like, all right, I'm done with this kind of movie. But I generally love this movie so much. I saw it. I don't normally see movies twice, but I saw it again today because I just enjoyed. And I don't know how much of that was just me kind of like trying to like stick it to like the man and be like, this is a good movie, go watch this movie. But no, I generally loved it. My kind of like first reaction kind of out was just like, this is kind of everything I like about a superhero movie. Like, great arc for a hero, fun comedy, great villains, great characters, like great fights, great special effects. It's kind of everything I kind of like. This is the movie that this is why I like this stuff, and this is why I go. This is why I watch all these shows. Like when I don't mean to keep like dragging like CW stuff, but like when you've seen like 30 plus seasons of CW stuff, I don't think there's very little I think can almost drag me down as far as like fun superhero content.
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely agree. I feel like nothing against the CW or anything like that, but I feel like my standards for what's a fun my standards for what I'll watch and what I'll like, tolerate as like a fun superhero movie are very, very, the bar is very low. Like, if you have some good visuals, if you make me laugh, if you have some cool fight scenes and stuff like that, I'm going to enjoy it. You know, if there's a hint of a good story, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm not overly critical when it comes to that type of stuff.
Sure. It is so crazy what us like Arrowverse fans put up with, as far as like we'll sit through an entire bad season to get like one like to this really cool moment. We're like, yep, it was worth it. But but yeah, no, it's I generally love this movie. So what are your kind of thoughts? And we'll start around the movie itself. But what are your thoughts of everything, all the news that's coming out about like Dwayne Johnson holding things back, and the kind of the future of like Shazam and Black Adam, and the future of the DCU?
Well, I wanted to. I liked Black Adam. I'll say that as well. I thought that I thought that was a good movie. I thought this was a good movie. I thought that the Rock crossing over and having a Black Adam Shazam, finally meeting and fighting, all that type of stuff. I thought that was what we were building to. I thought that would be fun, but apparently it seems like The Rock thinks that Black Adam as a character is above being in the Shazam movie, is above having a Shazam cameo in his movie. He thinks that Black Adam can be its own franchise without Shazam, but he's literally just reverse Shazam.
I wonder what his ultimate plan was, because it does feel like to me like he had this master plan and to put everything together. I feel like he should have just been like, he could have been the Thanos of like a phase for DC, and I think that could have worked really well. Like, I think we have this movie, a few movies down the line. Obviously, if this universe was sticking around, you could have like a Justice League movie as him as the villain. Yeah. And with everything we've seen, it honestly would have worked well, because it would have connect the JSA with the Justice League, with the Shazam, with Wonder Woman. Like, it could have had this really cool effect with Superman. But I wonder what he wanted, because it didn't seem like a one and done he wanted to do. It sounded like he wanted to be the center with, it seemed like he wanted to be Batman.
Well, he didn't want to be a villain, I feel like, is what it really boils down to. Is Black Adam is usually a Shazam villain. He is like the Shazam villain. So he wanted to, kind of play this whole anti-hero arc and be kind of maybe their version of Deadpool in a way, maybe, and be that pinnacle anti-hero character. He's not gonna be super goody two shoes hero, but he's also not a straight up villain. And I feel like that's kind of the character that The Rock plays in a lot of movies as well. He's never really a villain. So I feel like that's kind of what he wanted to do with Black Adam, was just make him... He almost wanted to make Black Adam just edgy Shazam.
Yeah. You know what they should have done? They should have just done Loki. Because what they've done with Loki is really interesting, because he's clearly the villain. Right. He's the villain of that kind of phase. But then they kind of turn it around and give him that, redemption arc. And that could have been really cool.
Yeah, exactly.
You could have had the, sequel to that, kind of him being, redeeming what he did in, a Justice League movie, or kind of whatever we did there. But,
right. But we kind of already got that almost in that first Black Adam. With him just, by the end of it, kind of being a JSA member, sort of. And, I'm not completely against it. if you want to give him that role, fine. I just think the issue is you want to be in charge of everything. He wanted to be, again, besides Superman. Yeah, it was just for, in the studio's eyes, it's just an actor that almost wanted to be the centerpiece of this universe, when you can't do that. You can't just have, what if, say Ben Affleck comes in there and is just all right, I want Batman to be in every movie. I want to, have complete creative control over everything. That's not going to happen. Yeah. So, you got to kind of, I don't know, just maybe set your expectations a little bit, gauge them a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, and it is really sad, because I actually really do like him as that character, and it is a thing where, now that we're, rebooting and starting fresh, there's a world years down the line, 6 years from now maybe, if he could lower his ego, I would love him to come back. I would love him to, in a smaller role, in a way that fit this universe. I think that's kind of my thing at the moment, though, is I kind of want everything to just kind of, take a pause. There's so many things happening. You got JSA and this, and the Weird Justice League, and Peacemaker, and all this stuff. I kind of just want to be pause, let's do Superman, and readjust 5 years from now.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good idea. I feel like that's hopefully what they're going to do with all of this. Is, obviously we're getting our sort of universe reboot reset with the Flash movie, and we're going to kind of put all this stuff on the back burner for a while. No more Shazam, no more Black Adam, no more any of this, while we kind of reestablish the status quo of the universe. And then I would assume once we're done with this first chapter that James Gunn is doing,
Sure.
maybe that will be something that we revisit. Maybe we'll revisit Shazam. Maybe we'll revisit Black Adam. But at that point, how much time has passed? Is it 5 years? Is it 10
Sure.
years? Is The Rock like 60 years old at this point? Like, you know, is
Yeah.
he still gonna, you know, be able to I guess put his body through everything that he did to, you know, be Black Adam again in like 10 years?
Yeah. And I'm so curious too, because like I 100% agree, and I think that's the route you should go. But then you have like the post-credit scene, and the thing about the like mid-credit scene, and the thing is like things in that mid-credit scene could still happen. Like from the track of what DC's doing with the Waller show, with the Peacemaker potentially season 2 whenever that comes out, it seems like Waller's going to be such a massive force in this next coming phase, and I think that's fine. I think Waller is such like a like connective piece to all these different characters that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
What's interesting though about that is if it wasn't going to be something that was going to maybe be addressed later, why would they keep it in the movie?
Yeah,
like we have that second post credit scene, so
you could easily have taken that out.
Yep,
No issue at all.
Taken it out, and all we would have lost is a funny Avengers joke.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that almost makes me wonder if like they do something. And the thing that I honestly found interesting is like, obviously we're already in this, but spoilers. A big theme of this movie is Billy becoming a god, like him, like among even people like Wonder Woman, and you know all these deities like becoming a god. The theme of this first chapter is gods and monsters.
Yeah.
So Billy would fit, like these characters would fit in like a gods and monsters type phase.
Right.
So maybe.
Yeah. No.
And
that's
it's kind of
that's a good connection.
Like we're seeing a lot of monsters in that first kind of lineup of James Gunn's project. We haven't seen a lot of gods. I mean, we have the Authority, I think, which is kind of connected to that a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the Wonder Woman prequel, and that's about it as far as like, and I guess Superman kind of, if we're doing like a gods among men type thing. But I mean, like
in Zack Snyder's eyes, Superman is of course
God.
a god. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I mean that's an interesting take for sure. Like I didn't really think about it like that. You're right. It is titled Gods and Monsters. So you know, with this movie, of course, being you know Fury of the Gods, we have Shazam effectively is god level.
Sure.
We have you know I guess obviously we are talking spoilers. We have Wonder Woman in here as well. What are they going to do on that front? It kind of like you know raises the question too: Are they keeping her around as well if she's in this movie, or does that mean she's not going to be around? I don't know.
Wonder Woman's a really weird one because I kind of get the vibe they want her to stick around. Like that's just a vibe from things James Gunn said, from the way they've described this prequel show. Like they're everything they've said seems like it's going to be Gal. But I really don't want a world where we have a new Superman, a new Batman, and then you just got Gal in there from the old Calvary. I don't know. And it is a weird thing because I know Gal's got a lot of hate, but like when Gal shows up as Wonder Woman, especially in this movie, there's just a presence that she holds where it's like, oh, that's Wonder Woman.
And that
like
the theme too, you know.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm fine with Gal sticking around. I think the way they're handling this whole reboot is, I love it. I think it's like I love it as a comic book fan. Common audiences are going to be so confused though.
Oh yeah, I mean the general audience member going into the Flash movie to see 2 versions of Barry Allen, like 3 versions of Batman. You know, it's going to be, you know, I guess a shock to the senses in that regard.
Yeah, I mean, you know, James Gunn has said a bunch that he cares more about the story than like the money of it, and you know the safe bet would just be clean slate, everyone's new, restart from the beginning, and he doesn't really seem to care about that. He's like, hey, I'm gonna keep what I want when I want it. We're moving on.
yeah.
So yeah, I'll be very curious to see what people think of like, oh, that's Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, but then that's a brand new Batman facing off against Margot Robbie. Like it's gonna be
it's gonna be weird to have like you know leftovers from the old universe, and I almost feel like it would be in their best interest to, if they want to carry over actors, is wait a little bit, you know, to just establish this new DC universe, and then when it comes time to bring these, these older actors back for their roles, maybe the general audience will be a little bit more, I guess, accepting of that. But
Yeah, sure. And again, like I think it's such a fun concept. Like even like the CW had did it with its Crisis and stuff, but I almost think that's on a much smaller scale where like you don't really need to like remember all the past stuff because they kind of like spoon feed it to you.
Right.
So how's it going to be here? I'm very curious. And again, there's some cases of this I'm very happy. Like I love Margot Robbie's. Like I'm so excited to see her like to continue to play that character. Even characters like Jason Momoa seems like he's sticking around.
Yeah.
I also just think it's not fair for some people. Like I know like the whole like Henry Cavill thing. It sucks, right?
Yeah.
And like does. I can't sit here and say, hey, we should keep Jason Momoa, and then people have lost their Superman.
Yeah.
It's a little unfair.
In many ways, it's almost like if you're gonna reboot and you're gonna recast some people, you have to almost recast everybody. Or if you're not gonna recast people, then you gotta keep everybody. It's almost like it feels weird to kind of do this middle ground where you just kind of pick and choose who you want to keep, who you don't want to keep. And I know obviously a lot of people online are throwing shade, I guess, at James Gunn for keeping certain actors around and not keeping other actors around. But I guess also too, at the end of the day, it is business. It is Hollywood, and it's not inherently fair all the time. So
it's definitely a tough situation, and I bet very tough on the actors as well. Like I can't imagine just like Jason being like showing up with a whole 6 other cast members where his old ones were gone or whatever, like showing up with just a new Superman and a new Wonder Woman must be very awkward. Or maybe they've all talked about an oral show. I don't know. There seems to be some. I know there's been some like Ben Affleck stuff to come out recently. Maybe I don't want to like read into it too much and be like there's bad blood but yeah, there's definitely stuff in there that's a little rough.
Definitely did not end on the greatest of terms.
Oh yeah, I think at the end of the day, I'm so excited for just a fresh start. Like I'm so excited.
Yeah, me too.
I love DC, and I have not liked the DC movies that much, and I hate that. That's why I've loved the like TV show so much, because that's been my real, in my opinion, only real source of DC content. When we had like delays after over and over. Flash movie was supposed to come out 7 years ago. Like, it's just the Flash show will have been over by the time the movie came out. It's insane.
And it's crazy that Ezra Miller was literally cast as the Flash like when episode 2 or something of the Flash TV show was airing. Like the
first episode, they announced the movie the same week the show came out.
Yeah, and I know like Stephen Amell like came out and was
very
like,
angry,
you shouldn't do that, and I was like, yeah, I definitely agree with that. But I feel like definitely the TV side of things, if you look back, say at like the last 10 years of DC stuff, the TV side of things is a lot more cohesively put together, is a lot more, I feel like, positively looked at by fans than the movie side of things. And that's definitely something I feel like if I were in James Gunn's shoes is something to consider, is just how successful that DC TV Arrowverse format was and how unsuccessful the DC EU formula was trying to replicate that Marvel formula. So
I've said it forever. I think James Gunn has the opportunity to make the best like connective universe. I think if you look at the like connectivity of Marvel, I think if you look at the character side of like the DC TV, if you look at the like what not to do from your past movies, you can make a really good. I think you can kind of have like a mix of everything that really works. Especially since we're doing a mix of like movies and shows and games, weirdly enough, I don't know how that's all going to fit in, and like animation, I think you can do something. And again, like Arrowverse never could. Like Arrowverse had their flops. Like they had stuff that didn't work because of the writing or of the budget or just not being able to use those characters that we wanted to use.
Right.
You have that. Like you have all the stuff that you need that the Arrowverse just couldn't use.
Yeah, no, I mean you have literally free range of the entire DC catalog here. So I would hope, or I would expect nothing less than, the best they can produce. At least that's what I'm hoping for.
And, I think everything he said, like, talk is cheap, right? It can all mean nothing, but everything he's talked about with, like, story coming first and basing these off the comics. Like, he had his whole ground level was like, hey, these are the comics we're basing these things off of, and then we're going from there. I think it's brilliant. Marvel's been doing this for 10 years, and they've done nothing like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely, I will say, you're right, is James Gunn's statements and everything like that definitely, put me a little bit more at ease. It seems like he wants to put, the creative side of things first. He wants to, allow directors' visions to be seen, and, doesn't want to kind of, go down the very studio mandated route that Marvel is. So
yeah, and it does really feel like, and I don't like saying that comic book movies aren't real movies, because they obviously are. Like, they're real movies. I'm not one of those people. But it does also feel like they are, like, there's legitimate, like, filmmakers at work here, too. It's not just your average superhero movie. Like, look at, like, the, like, Joker and, like, the Batman. And it looks like a lot of these, like, I think Swamp Thing is going to be amazing, because it's, like, this is, like, a horror movie. Like, we've never got a horror movie before, and, I mean, I guess we kind of, but not really, in, like, this, like, superhero world. And this is from day one. Like, this isn't, like, 3 phases in that Marvel, like, we're just now getting Deadpool, 40 films into the MCU.
Yeah.
So I think that's, again, not trying to bash Marvel, because I love Marvel, but
Same here.
There's things that make me very excited for kind of the future of everything.
Oh, yeah. The future is bright.
Indeed, the best blueprint for success is failure. Yeah, that's very true. You can definitely take what didn't work and then what did work and then combine it into one fluent. I think my only fear is that people just won't go. I think Shazam is it makes me worrisome.
Yeah.
How powerful a side of the fandom really is. And I feel that here. I mean, there's a couple things I think contributing, because there's not only that side, but there's also the side of people who are like, it's getting rebooted. Why would I go to a failing universe?
Exactly.
And then just the marketing that I think really failed this movie as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're definitely right in all of those aspects, kind of like, I guess, leading to those lower box office numbers. And, if you're just somebody on the outside that's not like us, that's always, looking at all the information online, going through, absorbing everything that we can, to just see, oh, this superhero movie came out, it's not getting great reviews, it's, people aren't really talking about it, why would I waste my time going to see it when it'll probably be on HBO Max or it'll be on digital in a couple months?
Yeah, I am, and literally in 1 month it's going to be on there. Yeah. It's upset. I think that hurts things a lot too. This trend of streaming, like, I could just watch it in a month. It sucks. I'm going to be watching very closely with these box office numbers for, I think, Blue Beetle, because I'm so worried for Blue Beetle.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, but
me too.
I'm really hoping that it does well. I think marketing is going to be the biggest factor in this. That if they market it properly, if they really push the film, if they again, I think also maybe critical reception is going to have to play a part in this. If critics like it, then people that pay attention to that type of stuff will go to it, more so than with Shazam, obviously. So.
I also think it depends what's all in August too, because I think August is a lot less of a month than March, because March was insane.
There's a lot of stuff coming out
this year as a whole. Almost every weekend there's a massive blockbuster movie coming out. But yeah, I'll be curious. And I think Blue Beetle could easily be the, like, Guardians of, like, DC. This, like, unknown hero no one knows about, that's just this massive success, this massive franchise. Could be really, really... I've been excited for this movie forever. Like, this is what I want more from, like, DC, are these, like, unsung heroes. He's not just Batman, Superman, like, Wonder Woman. It's these Booster Golds, these Swamp Things, these Blue Beetles, the Authority, which I literally know nothing about. The Authority,
same
blockbuster, I don't know how that's going to do. If Shazam can't do well, I don't know, the Authority, they're going to have to market that movie so well.
Right, exactly. It's weird, too, to think, too, like, that the first Shazam movie did really, really well. And it's on the top of a lot of people's, list of favorite DCEU superhero movies. And the fact that just a little bit of negative critical reception could scare so many people away from going to see this movie is I guess, just kind of like a sad thing to see.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes me very worried. Definitely makes me scared. This idea of just like no matter what they can do, will it all fail? You know, just like are we almost too far gone?
Yeah,
because like we're already like superhero fatigue is already such a massive thing. We're just now starting a universe, which is why I think it's very smart to not just do superhero movies in DC.
Yeah, exactly. I think leaning into different genres is really going to be the only way for this DC Universe reboot to be successful. Like you were saying, the Batman is a detective crime drama. You know, Swamp Thing is going to be very much so a horror project. So, you know, if you just lean into these other genres and aren't specifically just big superhero action movie, big CGI fight at the end, everybody goes home happy, fun popcorn flick. Yes. I love that type of movie, but not everybody does.
Sure. Joker 3 or Joker 2 is like a musical. Right. I'm so excited for that. And even like just like the genre, just like what we got announced, like Superman Legacy seems to be a very hopeful, very upfront kind of movie. Then Booster Gold is like a comedy. And then the Supergirl movie, same kind of franchise. That's going to be like a space odyssey type epic.
I'm very excited for that one.
So it already seems. I think he understands kind of what. And again, I think it also helps that he's been on Marvel and he's like he's behind these franchises. He's Scooby Doo and he knows all these like how this rodeo works. I think that's really going to help him. We didn't talk about much about the movie itself, but do you kind of have any just kind of like round out thoughts about the?
No, I mean just like general thoughts. I think it was definitely suits were a big upgrade from the first movie. Shout out to my boy Steve the Pen. He was the MVP. And you know, a lot of fun stuff came from that. I think a lot of fun visuals came from the Daughters of Atlas with the different power sets and everything like that. I think it looked visually very pleasing. It was, you know, very vibrant. A lot of movies can definitely lean into those very muted colors and tones and everything like that. This movie was very bright. It was very, you know, very action heavy, but you know, I still thought it told a very good story that came kind of full circle, carried on from that first movie, and had just like a lot of good character building moments too as well. So
no, I really I had a great time with this movie. I think it's just kind of everything. It's everything I kind of wanted from like a Shazam sequel. Like I didn't need this massively big thing. Did you think the comedy landed here?
I did. I was, you know, I maybe I was just because there weren't really any other people in the theater besides the people that I went with, but I was laughing out loud quite a few times. I thought the jokes landed a lot more than I've seen in other movies recently. So
yeah, no, I definitely, and I also think it's just kind of the perfect film for like comedy like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like some like you know, and you know, like recently where same example Ant-Man where it also works there, but also maybe didn't land there as well.
I actually never saw Quantumania yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I haven't. I saw so many leaks and stuff like that. I was like, I feel like I've already seen the movie.
Wow, I didn't love Quantumania.
I'm in that. I'm waiting for streaming. For that one.
Hypocrite, not scared. Yeah, no, but like I think like the whole. I remember after the like first one came out, there's so many people who wanted like a very like dark and gritty like Shazam movie. I've never got that. I don't think that works in a dark and gritty world. That defeats the purpose of a movie like this.
I thought in many ways the first movie was darker than this movie. Like this movie does get, you know, kind of dark in places. Like, you know, they do kill quite a few people in this movie, like especially in that opening scene. It's very similar to the first movie, I guess, in that regard, with just having like very threatening villains and stuff like that. But yeah, to me, Shazam is not a character that needs to be dark and gritty and brooding. It's somebody that's he's still a kid, so he's gonna be fun. He's gonna have all these, you know, jokes and everything like that. And I really liked all of the different quirks of all the different Shazam family members and stuff like that. And you know, oh, you know, what happened? Did you go to the eye doctor? Like that was one of my favorite jokes in there too. And then,
I loved
Gatorade joke too.
It was great. There's the bit. There it is.
There it is.
I love Darla's actor so much. That actress kills that character. It's I love, and each one I think kind of like embodies those younger actors. The only real kind of complaint, not I had, but I saw a lot of people having, was that like Zachary's Billy was a little bit goofier than like Asher's Billy, and I kind of agree. Do you agree with that?
I agree with that. Is like I felt like the kid, quote unquote kid Billy, became a lot more mature in this movie, while almost in some ways we had the Shazam version of Billy kind of regressing. Not regressing, but not progressing, I guess. And it kind of brings to an interesting idea that I had, was how they kept the same actress for Mary Marvel in her younger form and her superhero form. So if we're not going to see another Shazam movie for a while, how would you feel if they kept Asher Angel around and just he's Billy and Shazam?
Maybe. I would. I don't know. I guess it depends how much time has passed, because I think the idea is that like this is supposed to be like it's supposed to be the peak version of that character, right? Like that's like in their peak strength, and Asher's nowhere near looking like Levi.
Exactly, but a lot can happen.
Well, and I that was also kind of honestly, that was my main issue. My main issue was not enough Asher, because I think Asher is a phenomenal actor, and there's scenes where it's Zachary and it shouldn't be Zachary. It should be Asher having that conversation. That scene like right before he goes to like sacrifice himself, that should have been Asher Angel there. Yeah.
Or like even I think that the end scene where he gets brought back and it was, his Shazam form. I was like, with everybody like, circling around, hugging him and everything like that. It's like it almost would have been more impactful if it was actually him. Yeah.
Yeah, the whole time I was watching this movie, like the one thought, and I don't think you could do it because of budget and all that kind of jazz. I want a Shazam show. I think that would almost fix all of my kind of issues, because my main issue for everything is just I wanted more. Like I wanted more from the villains, more from these characters, more of these like these kids, just kind of like this coming of age. Like I feel like it would be so much better if you can have more time to spend with them. You can have like 8 episodes worth of these characters really bonding with each other and growing.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Something maybe in line with like Superman and Lois, as far as like maybe a little bit more budget than Superman and Lois, but because you got a lot you had to do there. But something along those lines in like the future of the year, like DCU, I would be very down.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But Shazam, do you have any kind of final wrap up stuff? Because we've been going for almost 3 hours now.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I'm probably talking everybody's ear off. I just like to talk. I ended up making my Shazam video. I was like, it's gonna be 5 minutes. It's gonna be 6 minutes. No, it was like 15 minutes. So But final thoughts. I just think if you've been on the fence about this movie, go see it. Go make up your own decision. Make up your own mind about it. I think that's really the biggest takeaway from this.
Yeah.
Is we both enjoyed the movie. Don't listen to critics telling you what to think. Just make up your own mind. Make up your own decision. And go out there, have a fun time. Watch a fun superhero movie.
Yes, absolutely. But Taz, thank you so much for hopping on here this very fine evening. I had such a blast doing this. This was so much fun. Hope we get the chance to do it again soon. This was so much fun.
Yes, definitely looking forward to hopefully again in the future. I'll maybe repay the favor, have you on my channel or something.
I would absolutely love that. But guys, if you're still watching this, thank you so much. We've been going on for 3 hours. That's amazing. All of Taz's links are down below. His Twitter, Instagram, your Twitch, your all that fun stuff. Go check out his channel. Super underrated. He's putting out some good stuff. I've been glad seeing you back on the internet and putting some stuff out again. You've been doing some good stuff.
I appreciate it. Thanks again for having me, man.
Where can I sub? Right in the description below. There's a link to all of his stuff right under mine. You can go check out his stuff. He does really good like recaps. Like I was gonna rewatch the first episode of Gotham, and I said I didn't have to because he broke it down for me perfectly. That was great.
Thank you. That's why I'm here.
Yes, absolutely. But guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the flip side. Bye bye.